We all know football season is the greatest time of year, but drafting season's a very close second. So whether you're drinking and drafting with your boys for your annual home league or preparing for your next high-stakes draft, the top priority remains the same: winning, and more specifically, winning money. And what better way to do that than by drafting a beauty? That's why you've got to check out our brand new draft kit at Awesemo.com, created by experts who have profited over $7 million playing fantasy sports. These guys are going to help you crush your drafts this year with tools like the Draft Wingman that's powered by projections from the #1 ranked daily fantasy sports player in the world, Awesemo himself, and includes a one-of-a-kind recommendation engine that takes into account your prior picks to ensure a well-rounded team and optimal draft. Draft Wingman is also outfitted with best ball-specific recommendations, including our stack highlighting feature, which helps you complete your all-important best ball stack. If you're looking for more details, or maybe you're already down to join us for an incredible NFL season, click the following link and use the promo code WR, that's WR, to get the entire draft kit for only $9.95. We'll see you over there. All it took was 3 preseason games and an impressive training camp to make Mack Jones the starter in New England. But shockingly, Cam Newton was released on the very same day before teams had to make their final roster cuts. I'm Dave Lockram with Awesemo.com, and here's why this is huge news for all of the skill players for this New England Patriots team. First off, Cam Newton is an absolute vulture on the goal line. He took away 60% of rushing touchdowns last year and 69% of goal line opportunities among all players. Not to mention, among all rushing attempts on this team, Cam Newton soaked up 25% of them. On the other hand, Mack Jones had 42 total rushing yards at college and 2 touchdowns. He's not someone you have to worry about from a mobility standpoint. He will be a pocket quarterback, and he's going to open things up in a big way for guys like Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson, who benefits greatly from Sonny Michel leaving New England to go to LA. As far as the wide receivers go, you have to like this news for Nelson Aguilar, for Jacoby Myers, and this group of tight ends. I mean, think about it. Mack Jones wasn't electric in the preseason from a putting up glamorous numbers standpoint, but he was 2 for 5 on deep balls, of which the other 3 were either flat out dropped or could have been caught. He has looked sharp. Sure, it was just the preseason, but this is the type of guy that can truly open up an offense. Cam Newton attempted deep balls on only 7.9% of his passes last year and ended up throwing more interceptions than touchdowns on the season. Mack Jones, as the Patriots starter, is going to open things up for the run game and for the passing game, and I'm moving all of these guys, specifically Damian Harris, and in the later rounds, Ramondre Stevenson, up in my rankings as a result.
Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a 12-team PPR mock draft from the first overall spot on Fantasy Pros Round.
One day I'm just going to start spitting fire on this beat right out of the gate. And we are live. Welcome to the MLB Deeper Dive. It is Sunday, September... I'm going to go 5th. It is. Nice.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Sunday, September 5th. I am Josh Engelman. I am joined by Terry McBride, and we are here to break down what I believe is a 10-game... Yes, it is. 10-game MLB slate. It's going to be a good one. Lots to talk about. A ton of offense right out of the gate. But first, let's shout out Jock Market for being the presenting sponsor of the show. Happy to have them. We'll talk about them in a little bit. Secondly, Terry, how are you?
Doing good, man. I'm not nearly caffeinated enough as I should be, and usually am by this time of day. It's a boil water advisory here in Jersey City, and I just kind of woke up, rolled over, started writing my article, and just did not stop to even make coffee. So you're welcome, everybody out there. Hopefully everything in there is right. Hopefully I make it through the show awake. But yeah, the sacrifices I make, man.
I have had a full pot of coffee and I'm now on to my iced coffee. So apologies for rubbing that directly into your face, but it is true. I don't want to lie. I can't lie to the people on this show.
No, never. Come on. We have nothing but truth, nothing but accuracy on these shows. That's what the people demand.
Absolutely. So we've got 58 minutes before we turn this one over to the live before lock crew. Maybe I had too much coffee. those words were not easy to bring to my tongue, but alas, we need to dive right in, and we are diving in. I haven't looked at the top stack tool yet, but I can only assume that we are diving into the team that is very clearly at the top, and that would be the case. The New York Yankees with a 6-run implied total against the Baltimore Orioles with a 3.6 run implied total. Corey Kluber and Keegan Aiken. Man, I feel like Keegan Aiken is on every slate, and he's on the opposite side of the top stack tool pretty consistently. No surprises there either. Kluber, 14% owned on DraftKings as of right now. Keegan Aiken, unsurprisingly, not owned whatsoever. Let's start with the pitching side. How do you feel about Corey Kluber against the O's?
I don't love it. I wasn't really buying into the Corey Kluber resurgence at the beginning of the season. It was a nice story while it happened. He had the no-hitter. He's thrown 57 and a third, 25.5% strikeout rate. Still a 10.5% walk rate in that small sample, 1.24 whip, a 4.23 xFIP. He puts guys on. He allows a few barrels, 8.7% barrel rate, a reasonable 36.7% hard hit. In Yankee Stadium, that contact, that many men on base, just translates to a guy who's probably going to give up a few runs. I'm not saying that the Orioles are going to obliterate him here. He could certainly come out and have a decent game, a few strikeouts, but in terms of the overall upside available on the slate, there's just pitchers that I like better than Kluber here. I don't think we need to go to him. The opponent's not a challenge, really. The Orioles' active roster, 24.8% strikeout rate, is 7th worst in baseball. Create runs 2% worse than average. They're right around average in terms of their 169 ISO, 3.65% home run rate. It's just, I don't know. I don't see the big upside score here from Kluber. The ownership's fine. The price is fine. So I'll probably have shares. I might even end up over the field on the FanDuel slate because they're only around 5%. So if I had 10% Corey Kluber, I'd be fine with it. It's just not like a go-to spot for me.
Showed up 11% in my sim, obviously 14% owned on DraftKings. So I think it's totally fine. I think it's a solid strikeout matchup. He's not my top pitcher. He's not my second favorite pitcher. He's not my third favorite pitcher, but he's certainly a guy that I will roster mildly for the day. I don't think that you and I need to add any sort of terminology to Keegan Aiken other than me saying his name now for what is probably the second time.
Yeah, and that's probably one time too many than we need to consider him at all. So yeah, he is just not on the board as a pitcher. Total flashing hit me hard sign for the Yankees lineup, and that's probably where we need to go next, I think.
Speaking of, well, not speaking of the Yankees lineup, but we got an ownership update 3 minutes ago. If you want to grab that.
Yeah, do that.
I don't know why that was speaking of the Yankees, but now speaking of the Yankees, we are going to talk about them. Oh boy. So they are my number one stack. It should not be surprising. They are the number one stack in our top stack odds. I have them with a significantly higher chance of being the top stack. I am betting on this power here against Keegan Aiken. And that should not be a terrible surprise. Keegan Aiken in Steamer projects for a 5.5 FIP. It's pretty hard to do that and actually show up in the majors. So that's exciting for him. I have the Yankees 11th in leverage. So basically middle of the pack. Some of these spots to me are overowned. DJ LeMahieu, Luke Voit, maybe Gleyber Torres for a little bit. Some of these guys to me are underowned, including Anthony Rizzo at 4,300. Like Voit is pulling almost 3 times as much ownership. Rizzo's only $300 more expensive. No brainer tournament pivot to Rizzo. I assume those guys actually end up a little bit closer than they are, but even still, I will happily play some Yankees here. This is way too good of a spot.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the team is smashing my home run model. There's one team that's actually on their crosstown pals are blasting through the top in their matchup against Josiah Gray. But I think the Yanks were second or third in my power index that summarizes the home run chances for every guy. Love the spot for my guys here. And I agree. Yeah. Everybody goes away from Anthony Rizzo for some reason, thinking that he's a bad lefty hitter, and he's not. He's still Anthony Rizzo against lefties. There is no reason to go away from him here. So I love the fact that he's going 6.5% owned on DK, 3.4% on FanDuel. That's a mistake spot. And then LeMahieu in the FanDuel slate is reasonably playable, only 11% ownership over there. And then the back end of the lineup, I think you pick up a little bit of quality and a little bit of ability to offset some of the costs, some of the ownership from the more expensive, more popular bats in the middle of the team. But yeah, I'm going to figure out a lot of different ways to put the Yankees together today. I think they look great going up against Aiken, a guy with just a 19.7% strikeout rate. You mentioned the XFIP projection. The actual XFIP right now is 5.2, so he's right on par with his projection. Yields 10.2%, barrels 41.8% hard hit. This is in Yankee Stadium. You do not have to hit the ball very hard to get it out of Yankee Stadium. These guys are going to hit some home runs today.
Raise your hand in chat if you only look at the stats that are on the back of a baseball card. Sean V, you better put those hands up. Aiken actually been okay lately. Shut down the Jays.
What?
Well, here are the XFIPs. We'll use XFIP for right now. Over the past 4 starts, 4-1 Keegan Aiken, 5.8 in that start against the Jays, 6.03, 6.25, and 7.96. He had a BABIP in the Toronto game of 0.091. All those numbers match Sierra as well. Has not been good lately. Arguably has been worse than he was earlier. Just didn't happen to give up random hits. But we know that's how you should check to see if anybody's been decent or not, looking at ERA. Fantastic.
The most meaningful thing in the world. Yeah. Yeah. 5 home runs in those last 4 starts as well against, I mean, it's tough competition. Look, Boston, Atlanta, LA, Toronto, those are not pushover teams by any means. Start before that block, he gave up 6 runs to the Tigers. This is not a good pitcher, guys. This is a target.
In 21 innings, he's given up 8 runs, 5 dongs. These are the last 4 starts, 5 dongs. He happens to have a 193 BABIP, which is just amazing to see. He's left 95% of runners on base, slightly higher than league average. 6.4 xFIP in that sample. It's kind of high. 585 Sierra.
Oof.
He's bad.
Yeah.
He bad. Yep. Play the Yankees. Don't think twice. Here's the problem for me, and this has been a problem for me on basically every slate as of late. And it's not the problem that my Excel sheet just immediately closed in front of my face and then reopened, but that was a problem. The thing that we need to talk about here, to me, I kind of like the Orioles. If Corey Kluber's getting 15-ish% ownership, the Orioles bats are getting no ownership. This is a great park for power. It's a decent power team for Baltimore. Like, I think their lineup is a little bit better than they get credit for. I like the idea of getting to Baltimore as a leverage stack against Kluber.
Yeah, I don't hate it in this spot. I like them better against lefties. They've performed better against lefties overall for the season. But I mentioned the power marks, the 3.65% home run rate against righties, the 169 team ISO. Those are right in the middle of the league. So it's not like they're a bad hitting club. They're just, they're around average. At run creation, in terms of WRC plus, it's 2% below average. That's fairly negligible. We're not going to sweat that too much. And we're talking about going up against a guy who is, at the beginning of this year, everybody was basically considering him washed, considering this is coming back from multiple injuries, multiple major season-long injuries. And he's still, he's been effective with the strikeouts at 25.5%, but he's still walking 10.5%. He puts too many guys on base. He gives up barrels. He gives up hard hits. So, I think there's upside for the Orioles here. It's probably not one to go out of your way for, but you don't have to go crazy out of your way to triple the field's, 0.5% ownership on any of these hitters. It's easy enough to put together a few stacks of Cedric Mullins, Ryan Mountcastle, Anthony Santander, Trey Mancini, DJ Stewart, Ramon Urias. I would include in that. If you want to leave the bottom couple guys off, I would maybe use Jorge Mateo a little bit as a wraparound play, just given his speed, but he doesn't really have the on-base acumen, but he does help with like price positional offsets with his multi-position. So there are good ways to put this lineup together too. So I'm with you on that one. I like that. And look, anytime you get a team with at least reasonable home run upside playing in Yankee Stadium against a gettable pitcher, it makes sense to get some shares of them when they're this low owned.
Yeah, and you'll get paid off a little bit too, given the Kluber ownership. I don't have anything else for this game. Just obviously play the Yankees. Be aware of what's in your lineup with the Yankees, considering that stack could be pretty chalky. But I like this game from an offense perspective.
Yeah, same here. I think both sides of this one from offense, and probably won't have much Kluber, definitely no Aiken. And for the Rizzo folks out there, just looking at my home run model, which people tend to like to hear about, Luke Voit, 8.71 in my home run model, getting 15% ownership on FanDuel, 17% on DK. Anthony Rizzo, 10.77, above average chance to hit home run in my model, 6.5% ownership on DK, 3.4% on FanDuel. They play the same position. That's an easy pivot, like you were saying.
Stanton, Judge, and Gallo are 1, 2, and 3 in my home run model for today.
They're easily the top 3 Yankees. They're in the top, I'd say, like 10, 15 here. I've got just so many Mets blasting through just because of Josiah Gray's awful home run numbers against.
Yeah, Alonso's 4.
Makes sense.
Anyway, now we'll get out of this crazy Yankees team, but we got a lot more to talk about because I've got 2 very highly positively leveraged stacks for this one. I'm anxious to see where you end up. Nats, 4-run implied total. Mets, 4.7. Josiah Gray and Taiwan Walker. Gray at 12% ownership. Walker at 5% ownership. I'm lower than the field on both guys. Not a spot that I'm really looking to get pitching. I'm much more interested in hitting. Talk to me about Gray and or Walker.
So I wrote a little bit about Walker in my pitching previews. He's popping up with a decent little projection in my model here, and the field doesn't really seem to be getting there. So I expect I'll be ahead of the field. He only costs $8,000 on the FanDuel slate. Pretty easy to roster. $7,700 on DK. That's a nice discount. I'm not saying that Taiwan Walker is an all-star by any means. I think he was overrated at the beginning of the year when he was pitching well, and he's had a few nice starts, a few tournament leading starts. But overall, he's a league average kind of a pitcher. 22.3% strikeout rate over 134 and a third, a 4.48 xFIP, a 1.16 whip, induces just 9.6% swinging strikes, below average with a 28.2% CSW, allows 8.7% barrels, 39.2% hard hit, all very, very league average-ish. But he's going up against what I think is a pretty weak Nationals lineup. They've got Juan Soto, they've got Josh Bell, and not a lot more. It's a lot of flotsam in this lineup. So I think he's got a really good chance at putting up a reasonably good start here, maybe finding a few bonus strikeouts. They're in the middle-ish of the league. They're like 12th in the league with a 23.3% strikeout rate against right-handed pitching, this Nationals active roster. But they've got a 138 team ISO. They create runs 13% worse than average. They've got a 2.92% home run rate, one of the worst in baseball. I just think they're a targetable enough team, and he's got enough talent in that arm. It doesn't show up as reliably as we'd like, but there's enough there that I think we can get a few shares of him in here at 2% ownership. If I have him at 10%, 12%, I'm pretty happy with that for 8,000 going up against this Nats team. On the other side, Josiah Gray, great strikeout rate for a rookie, 40 innings. He's a really highly regarded prospect, came over in the Scherzer trade. So, I mean, they obviously think a lot of him. 26.7% strikeout rate is very good, but a 9.3% walk rate, 11.9% barrel rate becomes pretty targetable for sequential hitting and run creation. And then he's got a 2.9 something, I think, home run per 9. I don't have it in front of me right now. I can jump back over to it, but he's been struggling with the home run ball so far. So I've got the Mets really popping through my the top of my home run model here. I think they look pretty good for sequential hitting and for run creation. 2.93 home run per 9 for Josiah Gray so far. 13 home runs in 40 innings pitched. So a lot of power going the other way. So I'm probably going to be well under the field on Josiah Gray. I don't think you're getting enough of a discount at 8,100 on the DK slate. 12% ownership, probably a little too heavy. And then on the FanDuel slate, I just don't think I need him. I might pull a few shares just for the strikeout acumen, but I think I'd rather just spread that around to some of the pitchers that I like better, that project better for me. And a lot of guys in this same price range today.
So Mets, my number 2 stack, we have them 5th in the top stack odds, showing up a little bit underowned. I have them with a little bit more leverage, like 3% owned Lindor. I'm a little heavier on even VR in the leadoff spot. Second and third eligibility on DraftKings, just 4K. I think that's an underowned spot. So I'm happy to get to the Mets, but I also think it's reasonable to get to a little bit of Nats. There's not enough ownership going to Walker, but I do have the Nats middle of the pack, 10th out of 20. I do have them positively leveraged. They're a little bit further down our top stack odds, but definitely a positive ownership share. Are you looking to get to either one of these teams?
I will definitely have a lot of Mets today based on the home run upside that I'm seeing in my model here, and then just what I expect from this team in terms of sequential hitting and run creation. They're finally basically healthy with everybody that they've expected to have in this lineup for the most part. There's a few odds and ends missing, but overall, the key guys like Lindor or Javi Baez are both in the lineup. Pete Alonso's in the lineup. So you get a reasonably quality version of this team. And as I'm saying that, let me just make sure that's actually true, because I'm seeing that the confirmed actually did drop now. So let me pop that in here and I will continue talking about them. So yeah, I expect to get a decent amount of the Mets. Lindor, Baez, Conforto's in there, Pete Alonso's in there. So getting through those guys, Johnny VR up at the top, Jeff McNeil. I love his hit tool, even though he's at 244, 315, 351 this year. I believe in his hit tool, I should say. It's been there in the past, so I think he can be included. Kevin Pillar and Pete Mazeka on the bottom end of the lineup. I don't really need to pull along, but they're fine to include in a few shares of stacks if you're building a lot. Jonathan VR is really interesting too on FanDuel. 2,800. He plays 3 positions on the site. That's awesome. You can move him around the board so much. And then with Baez and McNeil also having multi-position, you can swap the infielders into so many different configurations with this team. It's just an asset. It's a nice little thing to have. This team steals a lot of bases, hits a decent amount of home runs. So yeah, definitely going to load up on the Mets. I don't see it as much on the Nats side of things. What are you just looking to attack Taiwan Walker and you just not thinking he's good? What are you focused on that's drawing you to them? Is it the ownership?
Yeah. Only Juan Soto is north of 1.6% ownership on DK. So, Lane Thomas in the leadoff spot, I don't think much of him, but he's 3,500. I think that looks pretty good to me. Josh Bell, 1.5% owned. I think it should be more like 6. Ruiz at catcher at 4,200, 1.5% ownership. I think it should be like 6. I just think they're being a little bit underrepresented in terms of where their actual ownership is coming in. Not the worst park in the world. 106 park factor to righties, 103 to lefties. Like there's a little bit there. If things happen to go wrong for Walker, I like it. I mostly just see them as a positive leverage stack. I don't know if I would ultimately get there. I think there are just going to be better overall options that also have that positive leverage. But for right now, they are a team that I have my eye on, especially if like the Walker ownership could possibly come up over the next hour, 45 minutes.
Which I definitely think it could, because I mean, that team is one that people have been specifically targeting. I imagine that spot's getting talked about at least a little bit around the industry because people do like Walker as well. And like I said, I thought he was overrated for most of the year, but today I'm willing to go to it a little bit. But you're right in terms of there are 2 very capable hitters in that lineup. And then there's a couple guys who can get things done if he's not having his best day in the guys that you mentioned. And when they're that low owned, it's easy enough to get ahead on them and they're pretty cheap. So yeah, I can see it.
Anything else in this game?
We'll circle back from my home run pick, which comes from this game, but that's later in the game.
All righty. 5.4 run implied total for the Blue Jays, 3.8 for the Oakland A's. Robbie Ray and Cole Irvin. Ray at 25% ownership on DraftKings. I'm a little lighter than that, but nothing too crazy. Only 5% owned on FanDuel, likely because of the $11,200 price tag. Meanwhile, Cole Irvin pulling precisely 0 ownership, nor should he, in my opinion. What are you doing with Robbie Ray today? I don't think we're going to have to spew too many words on one Cole Irvin.
Yeah, I think we can leave him aside. Man, I will continue to say that I do not fully trust Robbie Ray. He's been spectacular all season long. He's been the moment I say that I finally trust him, he's going to go pop, and this is all going to go just get thrown in the trash. So I will continue to say that I don't trust him for the benefit of everybody out there who should be playing him. 4.5% ownership is too low on that FanDuel slate. I don't care about the price tag, particularly when you've got Corbin Burns, who's fantastic and in a good spot as well at a higher price, going off at like 5 times the ownership. So that's a mistake, or 4 times the ownership. So I think that needs to be cleaned up, or there's a nice opportunity there. Overall, Ray's been spectacular. 31.9% strikeout rate over 159 and a third, 6.2% walk rate, which is the most impressive thing. This is a guy who is an average of like a 13% walk rate over the last 3-4 seasons. So he basically just cut his walks in half at age 29, corrected his biggest problem, and turned himself into an ace, into one of the better pitchers in baseball. 1.02 whip induces a 15.6% swinging strike rate. 8.7% barrel, still has a little bit of premium contact, 42.8% hard hit rate, 90.3 mile an hour average exit velo. He's been able to keep guys off base. He's been able to make guys swing and miss more this season, which has been all the difference for him. Those home runs, the hard contact that he yields, used to have guys on base with a lot of free passes, used to allow more earned runs. He used to be less efficient and pitch his way out of games after 5 innings. He's gotten rid of a lot of those problems. So yeah, fire away with Robbie Ray, even up against a pretty decent Oakland lineup. I think it's a great spot.
I like it. I like it a lot. What I like the most, though, the Toronto Blue Jays. Number 3 overall in my top stack odds. Number 1 in leverage. They have a pretty sizable positive leverage score on the top stack tool, as does two more teams that we'll talk about in a little bit. But with the amount of power in this lineup, the righty-lefty matchup that they're going to get against Cole Irvin, I want all of the Blue Jays, given their current ownership status. How are you feeling about Toronto?
Now that I'm seeing where that ownership is, yeah, I am going to have to load up. That one eluded me or was different when I was writing my article earlier this morning. Otherwise, I would have touched on them a little bit more. I love the spot going up against Cole Irvin, 15.6% strikeout rate over the course of the season. Everything's just in play against him. He doesn't give up too many walks at 5.2%, but he's got a 4.92 xFIP, doesn't get induced swinging miss, doesn't throw enough strikes, 24.4% CSW percentage, 39.4% hard hit rate. Yeah, these Blue Jays are going to do damage to this guy and then get into the bullpen. George Springer, Marcus Semien, Vlad Guerrero, Bo Bichette, Teoscar Hernandez, Alejandro Kirk, Lourdes Gurriel, Randall Grichuk. I mean, that's 1 through 8. You can play these guys without even questioning it. And then if you want to throw poor Breivik Valera in there so it doesn't feel bad, at least he's cheap, $2,000 on FanDuel, $2,400 on DK with multi-position. Why not? So yeah, 1 through 9, put the Blue Jays together in different stack combinations. They're pricey on the top end, but they're worth it. And there's cheap enough pitching today that you can do it.
Yeah, I have every single guy in the lineup under-owned except for Teoscar Hernandez, and that's by 0.2%. So it's not like he's somebody that I'm getting away from. Yeah. I'm just happy to get to Toronto. All signs point to it being a really nice spot. Do you have any interest in Oakland against Robbie Ray? They're not getting any ownership to speak of, but it is a really tough spot.
I will probably end up with some Oakland shares. They do get nice little marks, at least around the key power hitters in that lineup. In my home run model, there are a few lefty-righty specialists in that lineup that I can certainly get to. So I think there's some quality around getting to some stacks. I wish Ray was honestly more highly owned on the FanDuel slate so I could go after a little bit more with some leverage on it. On the DK slate at 25% ownership, you get a little bit of that advantage. But I think, yeah, there's quality in like Josh Harrison, Starling Marte, Matt Olson, lefty is fine, ton of power still. Chapman has struggled through the season, but has turned things around to a pretty big degree. And lefty-righty, he's a solid option for a home run here. Mark Canha playable. Yan Gomes, everybody knows, very solid numbers for power lefty-righty. And then, oddly, Chris Davis is back on this team and back in this lineup and pulling a nice little home run mark for me. He cost the dead minimum on FanDuel. He's been spectacularly bad for 2 years, but he's a guy who's 40-plus home run power. I mean, it's still there. He went down with a wrist injury like 2 years ago, and the power never came back. Maybe it comes back. Maybe he can put bat on ball a little bit. 42.5% hard hit on the season, 10% barrel rate. It's over 66 plate appearances with 2 home runs. I don't know. It's not a great option, but I'm just saying there are playable bats up and down this lineup. Chad Pinder in the 8 spot is also playable. I think nothing of Elvis Andrus anymore. He's totally lost it. I think Chris Davis is better than Elvis Andrus at this point.
Schedule for the rest of the day is pretty simple. Coming up immediately after this, Eric and Gundacker, MLB Live Before Lock from 12 to 1, and then we're done. There is no more live content.
Okay.
It's going to be an easy one for Sunday, but we're back tomorrow. There's no Labor Day at Awesemo.com. There's just our labor for you guys. We will be here with all of the normal activities, so make sure you tune in. Plus, free content for today does not exist because it's a Sunday. Sorry, guys. But we'll have something for you tomorrow, I promise. You should just go to the website and sign up. Either way, I'll give you a promo code in, I don't know, like 15 more minutes.
There you go.
Marlins and Phillies, 3.6 run implied total for the Marlins, 4.4 for the Phils. Alicia Hernandez going for Miami. I've seen Matt Moore as the long guy for the Phils. I can't remember the name of the guy that's actually starting, but he's not going longer than an inning. So I've got Matt Moore in. He's 6,900 on DK, 6,500 on FanDuel. You're not playing him either way, I would imagine, but I don't know. Maybe there's a little bit of value there because it's in Miami. I think the more interesting piece is, do you get to any Hernandez?
I don't think so. At the 7,600 price is pretty good on FanDuel there, but I think there's other options that I like better. He's projecting kind of the middle of my board. There's a pretty tightly packed group at that point though on in my projections. So I might. He might come up. I'm just looking at some of who the other guys are, and it's like Gray is in that range. Nick Pivetta is in that range against Cleveland. I would maybe get to some shares, but it would probably be like right around where the field is, 5-ish%, a small portion of them. I think he's a decent pitcher, 23.1% strikeout rate, but it's only over 27 and a third so far this season, 4.14 xFIP, hasn't really walked anybody at 4.3%, has allowed some hard contact with a 7.3% barrel rate, a 42.7% hard hit, but I think those would normalize over a larger sample for him. So yeah, against the Phillies lineup that is largely overrated as well, going up against right-handed pitching. Philly, 165 team ISO, a 3.53% home run rate, so right around the middle of the league. They're decent avoiding strikeouts. 22.5% strikeout rate is definitely very good. That's like seventh or eighth best in baseball. But they create runs 8% worse than average in the split against righties. So I think there's a little bit of upside, a little bit of safety there for Hernandez. Could they turn on the ball and put a little bit of a bendy number on him? Absolutely. I do get decent home run marks on the other side for Philly. So this would probably be a both sides situation for me where I'm going to Philly bats and Liza Hernandez shares.
Oh, interesting. Okay. He showed up in 5% of my sims. I think this is a game where I go to nothing. I have the Marlins 14th. I have the Phillies 17th. I don't want Matt Moore. Like if I ended up with Eliezer Hernandez, I don't mind all that much, but like, my anticipation is that I don't have anything in this game. So talk to me about what you like on the bat side.
Yeah, so Philly's just shining through a little bit in terms of the power potential that I'm seeing in my home run model here. And it's probably based on some of the hard hit that Hernandez has allowed so far this year, the ability to get bat on ball because he's not striking out over 25%. He's around league average with a 23.1% strikeout rate. He's not the most targetable pitcher in terms of sequential hitting, in terms of run creation with his ability to keep guys off base with the walks. But based on the power upside that I'm seeing, based on the fact that there are some low-owned, very high-quality hitters in JT Realmuto, Bryce Harper, obviously, Andrew McCutchen, Didi Gregorius, Brad Miller in that lineup for very cheap. Their prices are down. Their ownership is down. So I can get to Philly here. It's not going to be a massive investment for me, but if they're coming in, 5, 6, 7% of lineups somewhere around there, while they're all owned in the low single digits, I'm happy with that. I'm a few degrees over the field and going up against, a low-owned matchup against the pitcher that, like I said, I do respect, but he's not exactly blowing the league away right now either. So I think it could be a little bit of a quiet spot.
I just finished off my most recent crunch, 16th for the Marlins, 18th for the Phillies. There's just not enough on either side. The Marlins park just really neuters anything of value here. I don't really find this Phillies lineup to be all that exciting. So this one's just a stay away. I don't have anything further.
Fair enough. Yeah, definitely don't like this park. That's for sure. No Marlins for me, even against Matt Moore, who is a pincushion of a pitcher. I mean, he is somebody you can absolutely target with most bats. I just haven't had luck getting to the Marlins lately. So this is the day they'll probably go for 15 runs. I'm just not seeing it in my model, though. They're not really coming through. They're super affordable. If you're looking for a team that nobody's owned and they're very, very cheap, you can put them together with the highest owned pitching, the highest price pitching and the highest price bats from another stack. You can justify it that way, but they're just not coming through in terms of projection or upside, despite the fact that they're going up against Matt Moore. So yeah, for me, the Marlins aren't really on the table here.
Okay. Red Sox and Indians, I think we'll look at this one a little bit different. 5.3 run implied total for the Red Sox, 4.6 for the Indians. Nick Pivetta and Zach Plesac. At least I think it's Pivetta, right?
That's what
Cutter Crawford being shown now.
Oh.
Which is interesting because I was getting a lot of Pivetta, so I'm refreshing to see if that has changed.
Cutter Crawford sounds like
I have Cutter Crawford now.
Yeah, that's what's in that one. Let me all right, I got to pull some data on him, but yeah, he sounds like he'd be like a fishing buddy of Sam Coonrod, who's the Phillies opener.
That's so weird. Like I was getting 30-something% Pivetta, so this is dramatically changing everything. Per Stephen Leibowitz, Pivetta scratched for COVID.
Oh,
apparently everyone knew Pivetta had COVID except for you and I.
Oops.
All right.
So I was writing 3,000 words about this slate earlier. I didn't get a chance to double check.
All right. So Cutter with a K, of course. Crawford. Whose son is he? Feels like that's got to be like a former pitcher Crawford's kid. He's been in AAA as of late. Last start on the 27th, went 6 innings. He's gone 69 and nice 2/3 innings and 15 starts in the minors. So that's like 14 outs a game. I'm going to go with that for right now. So let's go ahead and pop that bad boy in, because I'm going to have to rerun this. And I think it's going to change things pretty dramatically.
Yeah, I would expect it. That's I was getting some Pivetta there in early stuff. And, of course, Cutter Crawford doesn't come up as anything in here because he's never pitched in the majors. Is he left or right-handed? He is right-handed.
Yes, we're doing the exact same. Live look behind the scenes at how the hell we scramble to figure this stuff out. I am now adding Cutter Crawford to the list of guys for today. It will take me a minute or two to run a new crunch to find out how frequently these guys are going to actually pop up. Is Cutter Crawford in Steamer? Please be there. Cutter Crawford. Yay. Okay. So now I don't have to go any further. 22% projected K rate via Steamer, 9% walk rate, a 478 FIP. It does not appear that he is in the player pool. So that's one less pitcher you're going to be drafting. So that's easy. His dad was Cooter from Dukes of Hazzard. I shouldn't even have read that out loud.
That was good.
All right. So let's see what else we've got. All right. Here we go. I'm going to run this crunch now. Figure it out. 30-something% of guys that I liked prior to this are now gone. So floor is yours. Talk to me at least a little bit about the only guy left. Are you getting to Zach Plesac?
8,300 on FanDuel. I don't expect to be getting to much Zach Plesac. 16.9% strikeout rate on the season, 4.57 xFIP. Going up against this Red Sox team, he gives a quality contact, 10.2% barrel rate, 43.4% hard hit. He's at a 1.6 in my BBB minus K index, which means he's extremely targetable for run creation purposes. And he's going up against one of the better power lineups in the game. Kyle Schwarber, Hunter Renfroe, JD Martinez, Alex Verdugo, Travis Shaw, Bobby Dahlbeck. A lot of power in those guys here. So I don't think I need to get any shares of Zach Plesac. Looks like the field pretty much agrees with that. I don't really even see upside in attacking it from a low-owned perspective. I just don't think he's going to give us a premium start here. Are you getting to any of them, or were you before things changed?
6%. So I assume that it ends up staying somewhere in that neighborhood. We have the Boston Red Sox.
6% on DK, though, is an SP2, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Just wondering. So, you wouldn't be getting to him on FanDuel, right?
Not that I can tell, no. Yeah. Boston, slightly over-owned per our top stack odds. We have them 6th. I actually have them 4th, so I'm a little bit higher. I do have them as like basically neutrally owned, so I don't have too much to add. They look really good. They're bats that I would definitely be happy to have. I don't think they'll be my top stack. I think that's just going to be Toronto, but I'm clearly cool with getting to Boston. And I assume in like a minute and a half, I'm going to be a lot more interested in going to Cleveland bats, but for right now, they're just neutral.
Yeah, I have a feeling Cleveland is going to explode into your life. They definitely popped when I made this change here, and the placeholder values came in for Cutter Crawford. So that's going to be an interesting spot. I'll have some of the Red Sox here for sure. It's a depleted version of this lineup, though. Kevin Plawecki hitting 5. I mentioned Travis Shaw. He's got power upside, but he's not the best hitter in the world, hitting 6th. Dahlbeck obviously has a significant power upside, but again, not a great hit to him, not a great on base. And they get in Jack Lopez and Jonathan Aruz at the bottom of the lineup. And there's a handful of guys now at the bottom of this lineup that don't get on base, are not going to turn the lineup over for the Red Sox. So outside of the top end, I'm a little bit concerned. It might be a situation where you just get that 4 or 5 run game with a couple of home runs that could have 1 or 2 guys pop off for decent scores, but then the rest of the lineup is in the, they scored a run and they singled and scored a run because somebody hit a home run, and they're not really elevating the full stack score. So maybe I'm targeting this game more for power one-offs from the Red Sox side of things than I am for full stacks, although I do still really, really, really like the 1 through 4 of the Red Sox here. So just an interesting way that they would come together, because that's where most of the ownership is going to be. So curious to see how much I get to them once it goes through the process.
Cleveland is so cheap today on DK. Bradley, Ramirez, Zimmer, Miller, Hedges, Jimenez, all 2,900 or below. Miles Straw in the leadoff spot at 3,100. 4,300 for Ahmed Rosario and 5K for Franmil Reyes. You could roster this entire team pretty easily. I think that they'll look okay. They're probably going to be like 9th or 10th for me.
Yeah, that's a $3,000 salary average on DK for the starting lineup for the Indians. That's ridiculous. They're not great by any means, especially the back end of that lineup, but there's enough talent there. Like Harold Ramirez shouldn't be 2,200 on this slate. He's got a 47.6% hard hit rate on the season, 7.7% barrel rate, 292 plate appearances. He's hit 6 home runs, only a 139 ISO, 266, 305, 405. He's not a great player, but he puts bat on ball frequently enough and he never strikes out. 14.7% strikeout rate. He's a guy who puts the ball in play. A guy like that for 2,200 is advantageous to add into a stack when he's hitting 5th in this lineup around guys who are going to be potentially hitting home runs. So I like getting to him. I love the power in Bobby Bradley, Franmil, obviously. So yeah, it's an interesting lineup. No Jose Ramirez.
Cleveland up to 7th for me now. I just finished the crunch with Cutter in there. So
yeah,
big jump.
That's probably about right. Yeah, big jump, but that's probably about right. That's about where I'd want them. Sucks no Jose Ramirez in the lineup, but I like Ahmed Rosario up there too. He's not really getting that much attention. He's a decent mid-range power and steals guy. We've seen him go 15-15. He's at 10-12 so far this season. So I like getting to this team.
I don't have anything else in this game. Do you?
No, my one other thought that popped into my head is what happens if we roster Red Sox and more COVID reports come out just before lock, but let's let the live before lock guys worry about that one.
That'll work. WR is the promo code to get our fantasy football draft kit for season long and best ball. You get the draft wingman tool, best ball rankings and stacking guide, trade value chart, and more. Plus, up to a $35 credit for underdog and FFPC leagues. So you're going to get 33% off by using the promo code WR. That's going to be less than $10 for everything we have to offer for season long and best ball. You still have time to get into a bunch of best ball drafts before we kick this all off this coming Thursday. Contenders videos coming soon, by the way. Started working on all my stuff. Can't wait for NFL. I love NFL Showdown. Cash games are a fun thing to play, and you don't have to stress about it too much. But that's neither here nor there. Use the promo code WR. Yeah, you and me both. Yeah. Use the promo code WR for season long and best ball fantasy leagues. Go get our draft kit. 5 games to go, 23 minutes to go. We might have to pick up the pace a little bit. We're just having a casual conversation here. Not a ton to talk about late, though, so it's a little easier. Rays and Twins, 5.3 run implied total for the Rays, 3.8 for the Twins. Luis Patino and Griffin Jacks. Neither guy getting any ownership. Patino at 2% on DK, Griffin Jacks at 1%. I don't have them higher than 3%, so I don't have anything to talk about for pitching. Do you see something that the public doesn't?
Not really. Patino, when I was just kind of scanning the list of pitchers, I was like, oh, maybe that's an intriguing spot. But the Twins, the active roster comes together reasonably well in terms of the strikeout rate, 23.1% against righties. And they've got a lot of power upside, 4.14% home run rate, create runs 2% better than average, 183 ISO against righties. So for me, it's just probably not going to lead to getting to him. I do think he's a talented kid, 23.7% strikeout rate over 57 1/3. Gives up a little bit too much of hard hit and barrel rate, 4.93 xFIP on the season so far. It's not leading me to the Twins necessarily, but it's probably going to keep me off the pitcher. And then I want no part whatsoever of rostering Griffin Jacks as a pitcher. I definitely want to target Rays bats here on the offense side.
Yeah, I've got the Rays 8th, 6th in leverage as well. So this seems like a pretty nice spot to get to. For the Twins, I have them 6th overall. A lot of that is Luis Arias in the leadoff spot at 3K with dual eligibility. 11th in leverage. I wish the pitchers were getting something here. I'd be happy to take spots on both of these bats, but I think it's a little bit easier to get to the Rays given their ownership. They're not nearly as shot. Like Brandon Lau is 23% or whatever on FanDuel, only 9 on DK because he's 5,500.
Yeah, that price on DK helps get the ownership away from him. And it seems like a slate where there's enough cheap pitching that those are reasonable prices, though. You can get to that stack of Lau Franco and Nelson Cruz, throwing in Austin Meadows. Maybe you can't load up on all of the 1 through 5 there, but you can put this team together in enough different ways with some of that quality cheap pitching. And then on the FanDuel slate, they're super affordable. You mentioned the ownership on Lau. That kind of sucks because he's 3,400 over there. But everybody else is pretty low owned in this lineup. I'm getting very nice home run marks up and down this lineup in my home run model. I get nice projections for point scoring for run creation. Griffin Jacks on the season, 18.6% strikeout rate over 53 2/3, 9.3% walk rate, and a 13.6% barrel rate. That is atrocious. That yields a negative 4.3 in the BBB minus K. One of the worst numbers I can remember seeing, to be honest. So he's super targetable here. Also a 46.7% hard hit rate, 91.1 mile an hour average exit velo at a 20.1 degree average launch angle. That just spells home run. So I'm going to load up on some Rays here. I think they're still under-owned. It sucks that Lau is that owned, but I think you can still combine him with these other guys in stacks. They're low-owned enough that it'll work out. So I'm all over the Rays today.
Really like Franco, really like Meadows. On the Twins side, Jorge Polanco stands out as under-owned. These guys look pretty good. Patino, I think, is solid. There's not a ton of leverage to be found, but there's enough power in the Twins that if you want to go to it, you can. But not the best power park, not the best implied run total. So I don't want to go too crazy on Minnesota.
Yeah, I would grab a few guys, maybe take a few one-offs from this game. Like I'd be happy to get one-offs of Kepler, Donaldson, Polanco. Buxton's ownership has come down, his price has gone up, so I'd be happy there on FanDuel. Outside of those guys, I don't need too many of these hitters. I don't know how much I'll be stacking them. If I got a few stacks, though, I'd be fine with it.
Reds and Tigers. I know we had some questions about the Reds a little bit earlier. 5.3 run implied total for the Reds, 3.6 for the Tigers. Luis Castillo and Casey Mize. Castillo is 45% owned on DraftKings, 26 on FanDuel. No ownership for Mize. I agree with the Castillo ownership. This is an incredible strikeout matchup. It's a terrible Detroit Tigers offense. Castillo, he's never shy about wanting to get some strikeouts. He's 45% owned and showed up in my sim at 44%. I don't have a single thing that I want to try to change. I think he's perfectly owned today and the best option on the slate.
Yeah, way too cheap on the DK slate at 8,900 to 9,900 on the FanDuel slate. Not really keeping guys off of them. 26% ownership over there. So the public's all over it. He's been a roller coaster a bit this year, but he's really kind of pulled it together in the second half, and the quality's still there overall in the numbers. 23.5% strikeout rate is down. That's the concerning part, and a 9.5% walk rate is up. But overall, 3.72 xFIP on the season. Too many guys on base, of course, with the 138 whip, but still induces a 13% swinging strike rate. I like Luis Castillo a lot. I've been riding him for most of the season through the bumps and the bruises. I've won with him, I've lost with him. But going up against this Tigers team, second worst in baseball against right-handed pitching with their strikeout rate at 25.8%. Create runs 9% worse than average. They're okay for power, right around the middle of the league with a 162 ISO, a 3.48% home run rate. Nothing to be afraid of in this lineup, though. So you might get the shaky Castillo who walks a few too many guys, pitches inefficiently, and gets tattooed here. But I'm betting on the quality. I'm betting on the talent. And yeah, load up on Luis Castillo shares. Just ride along with the public on it. The spot is spectacular.
How do you feel about these Reds bats? They are 9th for me in top stack odds, 18th in leverage. We have them as one of the more negative leverage options for DraftKings. I'm mostly just going to stay away. Tyler Naquin's pulling most of this ownership. Like Moose Tacos is 35% owned on draft or on FanDuel because he's 2,300. This is an easy, relatively easy stay away for me from a 5-man stack perspective.
Yeah, I agree with that. Just entirely based on the ownership and where it is, particularly on the FanDuel slate, it's just going to force them out of my my process for the most part. I will take one-offs from this team, though. Nick Castellanos stands out, under 10% ownership for 4,000 on the FanDuel slate, 5,500 on the DK slate, maybe a little harder to get to there. That's really the only one that I think is under-owned, though. Moose on the DK slate and Votto on the DK slate I can take over there because they're cheap, or they're expensive and they're low-owned. They're cheap and highly owned on the FanDuel slate, which is problematic. So maybe it's just Castellanos as a one-off and see you later, because, yeah, I'm not going to be stacking this team, I don't think, which sucks because I do like the spot and I do like the Reds.
Got to stay away. And even though Luis Castillo is in 45% of lineups right now, today is not a day where I'm looking to roster the Tigers on the opposite side. 10 games are too many.
No, that's not a spot for me. I think just on talent alone, I think he's good enough that you don't want to target. I like doing that when it's a lower end pitcher. Like if they were going up against maybe like a Taiwan Walker, I respect this Tigers lineup a little bit more than that Washington lineup. So that would be maybe a more targetable spot if he was pulling this kind of ownership against them, but different kind of pitchers.
Shout out to Jock Market for being the presenting sponsor of this show. They have turned fantasy sports into a stock exchange, and you don't have to wait until the end of the game to make any money. You can sell off your shares right at the beginning if you would like, whether that's NBA, MLB, NHL, or PGA. You're trading and you're buying and selling shares of players throughout the game. You pick up all your shares in the pregame IPO phase, and then once it starts, you're just buying and selling on the app. You can sit on your couch and do it. It's great. Download the app in the App Store. Use the promo code Awesemo to get started. Get up to a $50 first-time deposit bonus. It's an offer exclusive to the Awesemo community. You don't want to pass up on it. They've just added the ability to short players. So if you think someone is projected for the day, you can short them. That is going to be very fun, particularly come the NBA season. I'm going to have a lot of enjoyment for that bad boy. But you want to go check out Jock Market. It's a great mechanism, very different way to play DFS, and I think you guys are really going to like it. Brewers and Cardinals.
It's going to be fun.
I cannot wait. 4.6 run implied total for the Brewers, 2.9 for the Cards. Corbin Burnes and John Lester. Lester getting no ownership. Corbin Burnes getting all of it on DraftKings at 9,700, 50% owned. And I agree with it. I don't have a single issue with it. This isn't a very good Cardinals lineup. Not a ton of strikeouts in the lineup, but I don't think it matters. Burnes is too cheap. The combination of Burnes and Castillo is unquestionably your cash game combo for today. Don't overthink it. Roster Burnes, roster Castillo. Do you have further thoughts on Burnes?
He's spectacular. He's underpriced on the DK slate. The ownership's appropriate. Everything you just said is entirely accurate. The Cards are good at avoiding strikeouts. That's the one thing they do well in the split. Otherwise, 9% worse than average creating runs, 3.33% home run rate, 152 team ISO. They're solidly average. So yeah, taking the best pitcher in the National League right now against them, I think it's a great spot. 34.6% strikeout rate for Burnes, 2.8% barrel rate on the season, 31.3% hard hit. Nothing not to like about Burnes here. Fire away. I wish he was lower owned on the FanDuel slate at 11.5. I was hoping that would cut him down to like 10, 12, somewhere around there. I think I'll be right with the field at around 20%.
I will be right with the field on no ownership to John Lester as well.
Agreed. Yep. No reason to roster John Lester. Hasn't been for the last few years. I don't know why you do it here. Are you going to the Brewers side of this in terms of bats, though? Because they're looking fairly heavily owned to me.
So I have them ranked a lot higher just in terms of general rank than our top stack tool does. I have them 5th, but I also have them 4th from the bottom in negative leverage. So no, even though I'm a little bit higher on the Brewers, I'm not interested in going there. I think Luis Urias looks like a pretty nice cash game option. Third base, shortstop eligibility, 3,900. Maybe Willy Adames as well, but I would rather just sort of avoid the Brewers. They're probably just filler for me.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do like the idea of maybe a super low-owned and relatively affordable Christian Yelich. I know he's had a bad season, but he's up to 252, 372, 385, creating runs 8% better than average, has 8 home runs, 8 stolen bases on the season in 382 plate appearances. I know that's not the Christian Yelich that we all remember, but he's also not priced like the Christian Yelich that we all remember, and he does have that talent. He is hitting third in a pretty good spot. So if he's in there, I like getting to him. Avi Garcia is a guy I'll always go to righty lefty, but it looks like he's pulling a decent amount of ownership at 3,200. I agree with the Luis Urias call for cash games. He's pretty interesting up there, despite 18.2% ownership on DK, and then he comes in 26.4% owned on FanDuel, but he gets 3 position eligibility, and he only costs 2,400 over on the FanDuel slate. So for cash, that's a dream kind of a situation because you can move them all around the board and get to whatever point per dollar plays you want at other positions. But for tournament play, that becomes pretty ugly and pretty difficult to roster.
Brewers lineup just dropped no Christian Yelich, so they're going to look a lot worse too.
Drop that out of there. Yep.
Yeah. And I don't want a single Cardinal.
No, not in this spot, not against Burnes. Too good at limiting any kind of power or home run upside. Just takes the bat out of their hands. Don't need any Cards here.
All righty. 2 more to go. Plenty of time to do it. Royals and White Sox, 3.8 run implied total for the Royals, 4.9 for the White Sox. This is where it's going to get interesting. Brady Singer and Dylan Cease. We've got Brady Singer projected for 6% ownership on DraftKings. We've got Dylan Cease projected for 18. I have these guys flip-flopped. I got Brady Singer in my Sims at 18%. I got Cease at 6. Break the tie. Who do you prefer, Brady Singer or Dylan Cease today?
It is strongly Dylan Cease for me. In terms of, at least in terms of projection. I'm not getting to Singer in terms of projection. He's 6th from the bottom of my board. 7th from the bottom of my board. I do think he's a talented kid. I just don't think it's necessarily there yet. 22% strikeout rate over 109 innings this season, 4.29 xFIP. What really concerns me is the 9.7% walk rate, the 1.60 whip. Decent with the swing and miss, 10.3% swinging strike rate, 30.5% CSW. So he throws enough strikes. Is decent with missing barrels as well, 5.4% barrel rate. But the low end strikeouts and the heavy walks and the heavy on base, concerns me around run creation with a team as good as the White Sox. I actually ended up writing about the White Sox because I think they're under-owned on this slate. That said, the back end of this White Sox lineup that they rolled out here today, Leury Garcia, Gavin Sheets, Danny Mendick, Sebi Zavala, doesn't exactly inspire confidence. So maybe a little bit of a kick to Singer. But yeah, for me, that one's firmly Dylan Cease. He's made the leap that everybody has been waiting for this season, 30.8% strikeout rate on the season. He still walks too many as well, 9.2% walk rate, 9.5% barrel rate. Those don't play well together. 35.9% hard hit helps him keep the ball in the yard, but he's very good at getting out of trouble now. 14.4% induced swinging strike rate, 30% CSW percentage. I just believe more in Dylan Cease, and I think there's enough to target in this Royals team. I know I wrote about them and recommended them as a stack yesterday. They somewhat came through. They were one of the better scoring teams. Overall, 21.9% strikeout rate for them, so they're good at limiting the strikeouts. 13% worse than average against righties creating runs, weak with a 3.11 home run rate and a 146 ISO for Kansas City. I just like the spot better for Cease. I think he's safe. I think he's maybe arguably a little under-owned at 12% on the FanDuel slate for only 9,300 on this slate as well.
I know
what is leading you to Singer.
I was reading chat. So here's my thing for Singer, and I think it's pretty easy. 6,700 is just a price that's going to work today, particularly if you're trying to pay up for Red Sox and Blue Jays and Yankees, which I think is probably your best bet. He's my preferred pay down option because I think the rest of it doesn't look all that good. It's not John Lester, Casey Mize. It's a little bit Zach Davies, which isn't fun. We'll talk about that in a bit. It's certainly not Griffin Jacks. It's certainly not Keegan Aiken. But the real piece for me for Singer is I have the White Sox projected for a 25% strikeout rate in aggregate. In terms of steamer strikeout projections, Lubov, Moncada, Abreu, Jimenez, Lubov and Moncada, 25 and 27%. Brian Goodwin, Leury Garcia, 28%, 25%. Sebi Zavala, 37%. Now in the 9 hole, so you're not going to be getting a ton of strikeouts out of that spot. But I think this is about as good as you're going to get from a strikeout matchup. It's a park that nerfs power to both sides, which is going to be helpful here for Singer. Maybe those walks don't hurt him as much if it's not as easy to turn them into home runs a batter later or 2 batters later. So it's mostly just a combination of price and the potential upside for a strikeout. He showed up in 18% of my sims, and we have him at 6% ownership. So I think he is the sort of pay down leverage pitcher that you can get to against the White Sox.
Yeah, as an SP2, 6,700 on DK, it's justifiable based on those things. And yeah, based on this lousy version of this lineup that they rolled out today, I'm kind of pissed that I chose to write them up instead of Tampa Bay now. But I still think that the 1 through 5 is at least pretty highly playable, pretty highly projected for me. And if people aren't really going to them because it's a weaker version, I kind of like them a little bit better because of that on the top end of the lineup. It's just about that back end. Looking at the strikeout rates in the actual for the season so far, Robert, 194 plate appearances, 22.2%. Moncada, 25.8 over 516. So they're right on with him. And then Abreu, Eloy, Brian Goodwin, all in the mid-20s. So, yeah, there are certainly strikeouts here, and it gets worse on the back end. Like you said, Sebi Zavala basically pitcher strikeout numbers at this point. It's not necessary. It might not lead me to too many Singer shares on the FanDuel slate still, but that's I think it might tame my expectations for the White Sox, at least.
Apparently I was wrong anyway. 4 of 5 home runs were hit there yesterday, so it doesn't necessarily nerf it. So apparently, since there were 4 or 5 home runs there yesterday, I should disregard any thought process for home runs there. I forgot its course.
Yeah, you must have not heard that they increased the elevation and changed the weather patterns and everything. So it's a home run park. Yeah.
Man, I wish I would have saw that earlier. I wouldn't have went on my rant. For bats, I got the Royals 14th. I got the White Sox 15th. I'd be happy to get to a little bit of Royals just because of ownership to Dylan Cease. I think that's a decent synergy, but they don't rank very highly to me. I don't get the sense that I would actually be getting there. These are 2 teams that would only show up for me basically randomly.
Yeah, I'll take what shares of the Royals I get. I do agree that it makes some sense to maybe grab some going up against the Cease ownership for all his quality that he's broken through with this season. I did mention, he still gives up too many walks, too many barrels. So there is potential for them to get to him here. I wrote about this team yesterday. It's the better version of the lineup that does include Adalberto Mondesi in it now. They're a speed team with decent hit tools that has a few guys who hit home runs. Most of the home runs come from Sal Perez, but you can get a couple out of Carlos Santana. I like the 1 through 6 here. Whit Merrifield, Nicky Lopez, Sal Perez, Andrew Benintendi, Carlos Santana, and Alberto Mondesi. They come together as a decent, varied combinations as a 5-man. A lot of stolen bases, decent amount of power there. So yeah, you can throw some of them at Dylan Cease, no problem.
You want to close this bad boy out?
Let's do it.
Before we turn this one over to Eric and Gundacker for Live Before Lock, 5.1 run implied total for the Cubs, 4.3 for the Pirates. Zach Davies and Will Crow. I know we just got the Cubs lineup. I haven't looked at it yet. Ortega, Schwindel, Happ, Wisdom. So no Contreras. Duffy is there. Hayward. So it's Chirinos over Contreras, and that's it. So nothing too crazy. Obviously, Wilson Contreras a better hitter, but that's neither here nor there. Zach Davies, 8% owned on DK. Will Crow is 1% owned. I'm not going to Crow. I would go to Davies in and around that same mark. He showed up in 10% of sims, 6,200. The price tag works. The Pirates offense isn't very good. I'm not excited about it, but I understand why people would go to Davies.
Yeah, he's the guy I was thinking of when we were talking just a minute ago about Singer in terms of guys at that price range on the DK slate. I don't like it. I don't believe in Zach Davies as a pitcher. He's never somebody that I want to roster, never somebody I would go to on the FanDuel slate. I think 2.3% ownership on the FanDuel slate, probably too much. 17.6% strikeout rate over the course of the season, 10.7% walks, 4.88 xFIP, 26.2% CSW, doesn't throw enough strikes, too many barrels at 8.7%, negative 1.8 in the BBB minus K. So he's very targetable in terms of sequential hitting, run creation, power, 43.2% hard hit rate yielded. It's just that this Pirates lineup has none of the qualities you need to take advantage of those things. They have a 129 collective ISO against righties, 2.57% home run rate, and they create runs 20% worse than average against righties. That is second worst in baseball against righties, behind only the Rockies, and like the fourth worst mark against either hand in all of baseball. So super targetable team, not a high-end pitcher to do it with, but I think, yeah, it's 6,200. It makes sense as an SP2 play. Just kind of plug and play, grab a handful of points and go about your business and pay for something else with that money.
I think these are the two worst offenses you can get to today. Cubs are 11th for me. Pirates 12th. They are last and second to last in my leverage metrics. We have them basically middle of the pack in top stack tool. Huge negative leverage score to the Cubs. And I assume it gets bigger. Huge negative leverage score going to the Pirates. This is two stay away spots to me from an offense perspective. I will have 0 5-man stacks of Cubs or Pirates.
Yeah, as much as we talk about go-to very good teams when they're getting under owned, like the Astros, the Blue Jays, the Yankees, and so on, do not go to very bad teams when they're getting very over-owned, and that's the case here. The Pirates and the Cubs suck, and there are too many people on them. The prices aren't even very good on the Cubs side of things. Those guys are priced up where they don't belong right now. So I don't need to go to these teams at all. They're going up against two terrible pitchers. This could be a high-scoring game. But for DFS purposes, for what we care about here, yeah, I want to stay away from it. I think Will Crow's super targetable, though. In an ownership vacuum, I'd be looking at some of the Cubs' power bats. But there's just too many people on them. So, yeah, I'm staying away.
The biggest ownership guy from the Cubs was Contreras, so that at least will go down a little bit. But either way, these two teams are massively, massively overowned. It is not for me. So let's sum it up. Favorite stacks for the day?
Let's see. Well, the White Sox came down in my esteem. The Yanks are obviously right up near the top of the board in terms of their probability of success. They're getting a little bit of that ownership attention. Still really like Toronto with their positive leverage as of the last time I checked. Still really like Tampa Bay. Boston also, as long as they stay positively leveraged. And I think we could potentially squeeze something out of Cleveland if the field doesn't flock there in the next hour.
Yankees, Mets, and Blue Jays at the top for me, under-owned or neutral. Rays and Nats sneaking towards the top from a leverage perspective. We need dong picks. Who is your dong pick for today before we head out?
Yep. So it's in the tournament strategy article. It's going back to that Mets game. Francisco Lindor, the underperformer. Everybody in Queens hates him, but I think he looks pretty good today. So I'll take Frankie Lindor for the home run.
Well, I wanted to go to someone that was low owned, but the three names at the top of my list that are under 10% are Franmil Reyes, Juan Soto, and Vlad Guerrero. So I don't really feel like a hero by taking any one of those three guys. So I'm going to scoot it down a little bit further. Let's go to... All right, this one works for me. We're going to go to Cleveland. 4.5% owned Bobby Bradley is my home run pick for today. 13th overall in the home run model.
I like that a lot. quality power bat that doesn't get rostered as much as he should in a lot of situations. He is pulling a nice mark in my model here. Let's see. Looks like he's 12th overall.
There we go.
Yeah. Yep.
I like it. And that'll do it, everybody. The deeper dive is over. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. And hit that thumbs up. We're only at 89. Not nearly enough. I don't want the Live Before Lock crew to be getting credit for this stuff. For Terry, I'm Josh. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Enjoy the holiday. We'll be back again tomorrow, but don't go anywhere. Live Before Lock is now.
And we are live. Buena suerte, everybody. What's going on? Welcome to the MLB Live Before Lock show presented by Chalk Market. I'm Eric Lindquist. I am not in the Holiday Inn Express. I have upgraded my pad. I have upgraded my, well, I haven't upgraded. I love the United States, but I am here live from Italy. Just wanted to throw it out there for everybody. I've got my best friend's wedding here Tuesday, but I love sports. I love this job. And I'm telling you what I really love is one Anthony Gundacker. You know him as the Gundacker. How's my dude doing over there?
You look like on the other side of that wall there's a human auction going on, dude. This is it's dark.
It's like the Italy flea market a little bit. Like this place, I have like this really cool fireplace, but then I have this bathtub that I just need a post that's at the villa that's right around the corner here. It's one of the coolest things of all time, but it's also nighttime. It's like just starting to be nighttime. It's storming outside and I have the blind shut. So if it looks like I'm in a dungeon, I kind of am. So that's fair. I have a question for you though, because I wanted to start off the show this way. I was always planning on starting our next show off this way.
Uh-oh.
How are you and the lady doing?
Whoa, good. What did
Hey, if you throw it on Twitter, it's fair game. I'm just saying.
I mean, yeah, and she tagged me. It's one of those, if I don't retweet it, then I get, sleeping on the couch. And if I do, then I got all these gambling simps following her. So I don't know what to do. So I just, I was like, it's 5 a.m. Just want to get impressions. Whatever. I'm just kidding. Nah, she's a looker. I don't know how I did it.
I don't know how you did it either. Maybe because you shaved.
It's definitely not that. but I
No,
didn't.
that's not-
I didn't save on purpose. It was an accident, and I was like, whatever. Here we go. I'll be back in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Razor's just accidentally getting in the way of your face. But anyway, I'm just happy for you. I'm also happy to be on a show from you. And as such, just because I'm dedicated, you should be dedicated to us as well by hitting that subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notification bell. All of that is really good stuff that goes a long way for us. I would not be here if it weren't for all of you. I love what we're doing here today. I'm loving this MLB DFS slate as well. I'm only able to sports bet from here. So I've got 2 bets that I've got pulled up on the side that I will get to a little bit later here in the program. But Gun, let's start off with some DFS pitchers. Like we always do, we go pitchers, we go stacks, we go hitters, and then we round out with some questions here at the end. But my first question for you, where are you kind of targeting pitching on this slate? Because we have a very, very chalky Corbin Burnes going up against St. Louis. I think rightfully so, especially with how many righties are always in this St. Louis lineup by default. But you have guys like Robbie Ray. You have Luis Castillo for even a little bit cheaper. I mean, he's still gaining a ton of ownership. What are you doing specifically with these top 4 pitchers? Robbie Ray, Corbin Burnes, Dylan Cease, and Luis Castillo, all pulling quite a bit of ownership.
Yeah, Cease has been kind of my guy so far. I guess Corbin Burnes is a fine play. My mind cannot get over the Brandon Woodruff and Freddie Peralta Cardinals games where the Cards took them behind the woodshed and just started blasting them. So like I want to get my money back from that, but also in the back of my mind, I feel like I gotta get some Cardinal stacks just for the leverage that's already baked in the ownership versus ownership. But yeah, Corbin Burnes definitely lines up extremely well metrically, just 2 lefties in that Cardinals lineup. So you can tap into that near 40% K rate to righty. So metrically, I'm all over Corbin Burnes. Also feel like on the south side of 10K, it's probably a little too cheap. But the ownership does make me a little bit skittish. But Dylan Cease was my number 1 at the moment in terms of ownership that I did have. But I guess like that's only because of how much ownership Corbin Burnes is pulling. 52% on a big Sunday slate that's a wild ride. So I do like to get a little bit different. And Cease being 18% to own versus the 52%, I'm willing to kind of take that ace king versus the pocket aces and see what happens.
Well, that's a bad idea. I mean, statistically, that's 82 to 18, right?
I mean, statistically.
Actually, no, that's 91-9, I think is the
well,
right number.
so
Aces versus ace king.
If 2 guys at the table got pocket aces because they both got Corbin Burnes.
But then you can have ace king.
Okay. Well,
I'm just calling you out.
Well, I mean, I guess without context, right? We're looking at the ownership, which means I know the cards that they have. So the pocket aces, whatever.
So Michael Roundtree asked, are you able to play DFS while in Italy? You are if you reserve your lineups from Amsterdam. I will throw that out. I ended up having a layover in Amsterdam. Man, I'm telling you, based on that airport, how fun that was. I want to go back there very, very badly. Probably an incredible place to hang out. Let me tell you, though, Italy ain't too bad either. All right. We talked about the top pitchers. I like that take. I like getting to some more Cease. Corbin Burnes, Luis Castillo. I understand why the ownership's there. I think you would still have a lot if I were playing more lineups today, but I understand it. Probably going to be siding more with the Dylan Cease side with you. Robbie Ray, tough matchup, but I mean, he has just been freaking fantastic this entire season. I want to play more. I can't stomach going there as much on this slate. What are you doing with this next line of pitchers that we have, though? We start getting into Corey Kluber territory. Ya boy. Luis Patino, my guy that I talk about pretty much every single slate. Anybody else down in this 8K range that entices you?
It gets ugly really fast. So like you start to understand why Corbin Burnes is coming in so high owned once you start getting past that like SB3, SB4, SB5 of the slates. There's nothing down there that doesn't make you vomit just a little bit in your mouth. I guess you could say maybe Taiwan Walker has a shot. I do think his potential leverage in terms of our top pitchers total, 9.8% chance of being a top 2 pitcher versus a 2% ownership. I mean, that's literally what you want. So I think I'll, because of that, have to carve out a little bit more room for Taiwan Walker in my own lineups. He's not somebody I like to play because of his lack of strikeout propensity, but I think you're going to have to accept that if you're going to diversify your pitching pool today, you're going to have to start taking lesser marks in terms of strikeout percentage. And I think Taiwan Walker at least can offset some of those numbers with eating some innings and getting into a weaker offense past Juan Soto. So maybe he's one of the guys that kind of sticks out. You mentioned Castillo. Yeah, I don't mind Castillo. That part kind of spooks me. I'll never play John Lester, but every time I stack against him, he looks Kershaw-esque. And then I heard them talking about Brady Singer. Like, I guess when you think about the argument at the price wise, there's a world where 15 DKP from Brady Singer as an SP2, that dog just might hunt. So I'm starting to open my mind to that possibility, but it's not pretty down here.
What do you think about our guy? He seems to be on every single slate because I know I've done this bit at least 50 times with you. Will Crowe. How do you feel about Will Crowe going up against the Cubbies? I know this is a team that, going back to your Twitter, I don't know why it's such a popular thing that I mean, maybe because you're really good at it. Will Crowe. Can I interest you in some Will Crowe?
Will Crowe sounds like the owner of the basement that you're locked in right now. Or at least that accent.
Will Crowe. Whoa. A little bit of that.
I don't know who you are, but I got a particularly good set of GPP
Help me, everyone.
skills.
I'm being taken.
Okay, you made it weird. You took it.
I mean, it was already weird. Everybody. I'm trying to entertain the people. I know it's early over there. Okay, I've already been at it for however many hours, more than one.
I feel like we have a little of the news station weatherman delay. Right, I feel like there's a little bit of
a tiny bit.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So it's just like, I don't know.
I can't talk over you for once. That's good.
I mean, you are talking over me. That's why I brought it up. Will Crowe, 7,600. He's another guy, just doesn't give you a ton of strikeout potential. I would say that in the scope of this slate, it feels like the offenses in this game are a little bit more owned than they should be versus where the pitchers are. And it's bad hitting, it's bad pitching. The Cubs can strike out with the best of them. So like, I understand the thought process there. I think personally, I'd be more so on the seesaw side of just like trying to balance in the middle, a healthy balance where I don't want to get too ridiculous with Will Crowe exposure. Cause I do have some of my highest home run marks coming from the Chicago Cubs today. But they strike out almost, half this lineup, almost a 30% clip. So right now he's not in my player pool. But I don't know. I feel weird asking you because you're not in the country, and I don't know, your geolocation device might go nuts if you were playing the slate. Or are you playing the slate? And do you?
I just said I reserved some lineups from Amsterdam. I'm ready to go.
I didn't know Amsterdam was is that like a DK Europe thing?
You can from there. That's all I know is that you sign on, and if I bing something today and get that money taken away for whatever reason because I was in Amsterdam, I'd be very upset. But Amsterdam, I was able to log in and I was just fine. So everything is legal in Amsterdam. Jordan Klein, things. Absolutely. But let's move it down to the absolute bottom of the board here. Anything Griffin Jacks, Keegan Aiken. Somebody in chat was talking about Keegan Aiken earlier, and I thought I was on drugs. I was just in Amsterdam, but I'm not on drugs. How are we feeling about anybody on this bottom end large field GPPs? There's your answer. That there wasn't enough delay there.
But it's not like I'm like in love with any of the mid-tier pitchers. So if you got under 6K Keegan Aiken, the Yankees, they can feed you a strikeout here and there. I mean, what's the lowest you'd take from Aiken? I would say there's like above 0% chance. Like I wouldn't be stunned if Aiken went out there and had like 15, 16 DKP. And if that's what you want, take it. Obviously, we think we're all more on the Yankees offense side here. But we've definitely seen some stunners when it comes to opposing pitchers walking away with some more than average strikeout rates against this team. So like crazier things have been said. Does have a 10% swing and strike rate. 16.4% call strike rate. Like I'm not there, but I think in this slate, I'll be open-minded to understand that, you're going to have to get a little freaky. Sure, go for it. You mentioned Kluber. I don't think I'm gonna be on Kluber either. What was the one? Keegan Aiken and
I was just kind of looking at the bottom end of the board, kind of rounding it out. You have Zach Davies. I would not like to play him. He's pulling the most ownership out of everybody there. I would rather just play Keegan Aiken over Zach Davies because I just don't believe in Zach Davies ever. K percentage has never been there in a meaningful way. He primarily throws one pitch and not very well. Griffin Jack's 6K. I think I could maybe take a couple shots even against Tampa Bay. There are enough Ks in the lineup. There's obviously a ton of power, and it's stacked completely perfectly to murder people from both hands because that's what Tampa Bay does. I hate when they face righties I love it for Tampa Bay. I hate it for the opposing pitcher because you get Brandon Lau leading off, and that's more at bats for a really good hitter. But he also strikes out way above average. So I think that it kind of goes hand in hand there, where maybe you get 2 strikeouts from him as opposed to just giving up the solo shot. That's why I think I would take some shots more so. If I were playing more than 20 lineups, I would probably start to get some Griffin Jacks in my pool. But that's really about it underneath 6,500. I think Brady Singer, about as cheap as I would want to go mostly in a 20 max 6,700. How do you feel about that take?
Yeah, I mean, I just hate playing bad pitchers. But I understand, like, if you want to go all in on 3 or 4 pitchers with Burns and Cease and Ray, go for it. I don't think, like, I know some people that use that tactic successfully. But 50% of anyone, especially a pitcher on a slate this large, just feels really, really rough. A guy that I was, I'm a little bit ashamed to talk about it, but I'm interested in Zach Plesac, man. Hear me out. Red Sox, they're the COVID, the Boston COVIDs right now, and this lineup is a way different lineup. After JD Martinez, I guess, Alex Verdugo, but 5 through 9, I mean, you got to show it to me. And even 1 through 3 come with a little bit of strikeout potential. No, I don't really play Plesac for strikeouts, but he does keep the ball on the ground and he suppresses the hard contact, under 33% to both sides of the plate. It's under 70 degrees up there in Boston. I think Plesac can eat me some innings at 7,400, 6 to 7K. I'm not, hold my breath for a win or anything like that. But he's a guy I think that, is kind of just flying under the radar against. I think when you think of the Red Sox, you have this perception of this juice lineup, but that's not really what they're putting out today.
Yeah, I mean, for me, there's Verdugo cleanup. That's kind of evident that you're missing Xander, you're missing Devers. So those are 2 fantastic hitters. Jack Lopez, Araz, we're going to have to see more out of them going forward. But Kyle Schwarber definitely leading off along with Alex Verdugo in the 4-hole. And then your righties being Renfroe and JD Martinez. It does feel like a little bit of a boomer bust spot. And considering he's pulling virtually no ownership, I'm happy to kind of take that shot too. I think that you might be onto something with him. I'm going to add him back into my pool. I think that that's fine. Anything else for you from the pitching front whatsoever?
No, I mentioned I wasn't going to take the shot on Kluber yet. It's the obvious 3, I guess.
I can't do it either.
Castillo's is that guy sliding into the 4, and then it's just middle tier. I really want to get away from all those super punts, the Singers, the Aiken, stuff like that. But I understand it in the grand scheme of 150.
All righty. Well, that does pitching for us. And I'm feeling pretty well, no, we don't have any free content today. So there's that. But we're talking ownership. I'm going to talk through some of the top stacks. I usually end up liking to refer to what those exact numbers are. But in the event that you haven't checked out Awesemo Plus, you need to be there and invested, especially as we're getting ready for NFL season. We have so much free content for you. I'm telling you, though, behind the paywall is where you want to be going forward. But our Awesemo Plus channel that we have, the Awesemo Fantasy Football channel and the Awesemo Odds channel, 2 new channels catered to your needs from a sports betting perspective and our fantasy football perspective. We have new videos coming out every single day, leading you up to your drafts, leading up to you all of the good times that are about to be had as everybody's getting into their drafts here for the next couple days. I know I've got a draft coming up here at 9 p.m. out here, all my noon buddies from LA, and I'm looking really forward to using the Draft Wingman and some of the videos and content that Lofty's putting out, that Makachevsky have put out. If you're getting ready for your drafts too, head over there, hit subscribe on that fantasy football channel, check out some of the free videos that we have available, and get ready for this DFS season. Get ready for this year-long season. They're going to be incredible. And in the event that you haven't been checking out any of our college football stuff either, check out Betting You, Makachevsky, Ben Rasa, 2 of the sharpest minds in the game, period. They have been, they're a print factory at this point. Absolute print factory in DFS and sports betting. I strongly suggest checking that out because, Amsterdam, everything's legal. Able to get a little bit of coin on some college football, specifically Penn State. Thanks. Good times. Glad we had it. If you want plays like that, head to Betting U and check that out. Click subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts from. That's Betting U. All right, let's get ourselves to stacks. Your Yankees, your New York Yankees, by far the most owned. Top stack potential, 11.3%. It's the highest on this slate. How do you kind of mix and match them into your lineups? How are you going to possibly be stacking up this team uniquely?
On FanDuel, it's pretty easy to kind of grab and go with 4 on DK. You're going to have a ton of overlap. I guess your decision-making process between Luke Voit and Anthony Rizzo, if you think the lesser of the two evils is a way to go, a lot of people will probably go Voit for the righty-lefty matchup. But I think Rizzo's split to lefties has actually been his better split so far this season. So maybe that's a way to drive a wedge in there and get a little bit different. Keegan Aiken has allowed a 300+ average to lefties this season, almost a 2 home run per 9. So he's giving up power to both sides. So maybe lean on the lefties a little bit more than the field, just to kind of differentiate yourself. And that seems like the most obvious way to get a little bit different.
Short Gamer TV said that Eric behind you, and I was like, what if there actually was a ghost or somebody that came up from behind while this was happening? Would this be the most watched video on YouTube ever?
Dude, we should get on Nuke's top 5. If we should stage something before you go. It was just it was a fantasy baseball discussion that got weird.
Yeah. In a world treaded by water, there was one man who could not live up to the task. Something like that. Just do a straight up trailer. I don't know, those trailer voices always are like for rom-coms and whatever else. It's rarely like, oh, actually, no, it's rated R. It's like a deeper voice that I can't do. Not surprising, Eric doing voices on a show. Let's keep on moving down the top stack board here. Toronto, the White Sox, Tampa Bay. I love Tampa Bay on this slate. I absolutely think that they're in a fantastic spot going up against Griffin Jacks. I like playing a little Griffin Jacks in large field GPPs as well, but anytime you face a righty for this Tampa Bay team, you get Lau. He becomes a tremendous upgrade. I love Austin Meadows in the cleanup. Randy Arozarena, Joey Wendell coming off of Double Dong Central where he just destroyed a slate. He has enough power there. I mean, 1 through 9, this team is so playable, super easy to mix and match them. How do you feel about them and the rest of these teams that are next on the top stack tool?
Yeah, we saw it yesterday. Twins pitching can kind of throw park factor out the window, man. Rays had 6 homers through 5 innings, and it got ugly quick, fast, in a hurry. And Griffin Jack, so far, so bad. He has allowed a 2.5 homer per 9 on the road, a 3+ homer per 9 overall to righties, a 2+ to lefties. If you got a swing and you got a little bit of pop, you definitely have a shot to put one over the fence. Brandon Lau, Nelson Cruz, Austin Meadows, and Mike Zunino, probably the most powerful 9-hole hitter in all of baseball with a 2.92. So, yeah,
baseball history.
It's bad. Zunino is actually popping on the infamous bomb detector right now, 4.59 rating, because Griffin Jack's not really a strikeout guy, 9.8% swinging strike rate, 18% K rate to righties. And Mike Zunino is the story of you can neutralize the strikeout rate. You increase his chances of dipping into that 26% barrel ball rate. That's an insane number, but the matchup right here really, really looks pretty solid for him. So I'm with you on the Rays here. Oftentimes I find reasons to let Tropicana push me away, but not today, Junior.
Today, Junior. Love it. We've been quoting, I think, Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison have kind of been the talk of the entire. So 2 fat naked bikers out in the woods having sex. How am I supposed to chip, Doug, with that going on?
Super Troopers? What?
Oh no, that's the best. That's literally.
Yeah. Yo, I just want to say, ever since you mentioned that I had a picture of my girlfriend on Twitter, I think I have like 15 new followers since the show started. So maybe I should be I don't know. Maybe I should do something else to get clout now. Apparently, I don't know.
You're welcome.
No, appreciate it, buddy.
Okay.
Awkward.
All right. We're going to keep moving down the stacked board. Again, I just wanted to give you props because, again, she's lovely. You're okay. And so we just keep going. We have Boston, Cincinnati, the Cubbies, We're starting working down the board, and I'm going to tell you, in my main lineup right now, I have an Oakland stack. It doesn't feel good. It's absurd, but I think the upside is completely there in this mid-range of teams that are in this like middle section of the top stack tool. 3.8% top stack potential, only 0.8% ownership share. Everybody above them, with the exception of Philadelphia, which are, tough bats to get to, I think, on this slate, is relatively high owned, with the exception of the White Sox and Tampa Bay. And I talked about my Tampa Bay affection. I think the White Sox are okay too, but I'm really kind of looking at a team like Oakland in large field tournaments going up against Robbie Ray, who's a fantastic pitcher, but 42.8% hard hit percentage, and it's going in the air, 16.4-degree launch angle. I think there's enough upside in Josh Harrison, Starling Marte, even Matt Olson, who hits right and lefties well, just an absolute rage stick, 508 expected slugging on the season. What do you think about Oakland and anybody else that's a lower owned stack for you on this slate?
Yeah. So in context of important baseball, this game matters, but Blue Jays need wins to get into that wild card spot, and Athletics are trying to create separation and drive a wedge between the Red Sox since they've got the COVID issue. So definitely should expect this offense to come out and fight. They're kind of pricey, the guys that you really want, the Marte, the Olsons, but they make sense logistically. Maybe you don't get them aggressively with a double high-end pitcher lineup, but one of those high-end pitchers is Robbie Ray anyway, so it kind of correlates with what you need or what you're doing with your lineup construction. So I'm there. You mentioned Harrison. Harrison's been leading off, been really, really solid for them in that leadoff spot. I like his split against lefties more than righties. Gets on base quite a bit, and then if you put him in Marte and their on base percentages against lefties, maybe Robbie Ray gets a little bit more distracted. A left-handed pitcher looking at Starling Marte at first base, maybe he's not focused like he wants to be. Matt Chapman, he's got a fast swing, and he's got a swing to get a ball out of anywhere. So I like him against lefties. He's really kind of been promoted in this lineup in the last couple of weeks. And Chris Davies came back. I don't know if you noticed that. Nice little pop in the bottom of the lineup, maybe more so for your FanDuel sake, but he's somebody that, who I'm kind of rooting for him. But I'm with you on the Athletics. John Gomes, another guy I do like against lefties as well. So I'm there. I don't have like a ton because of the Ray exposure, but anytime you can identify a stack where you can see the range of outcomes for them doing well and the pitcher is going to pick up, a top 3 amount of ownership. Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of multi-mass entry, right? You could play both sides of the fence, and I think that's just one of those, you do play both outcomes. You sit back and enjoy the game.
Yeah, somebody just, Stephen Leibowitz, of course, super sharp, always watching these shows, always in the chat, participating. Love to see it. He said open roof in Toronto if anyone cares. That's another reason I care. It's 77. The wind's blowing out to right now, so it's blowing out a little bit here, and there's a ton of power in this lineup. Chris Davis, I'm cheering for him too. I'm sure you're going to quit cheering for him when the A's and the Yankees play in the wild card, but whatever, such is life. Yeah. I absolutely just think that this team has a bunch of upside at the same time that Robbie Ray has a bunch of upside. Wouldn't shock me either way to see Oakland hang up 5-6 runs with Ray out there, and then they get to the bullpen. If they can get up a little bit, you got some gettable dudes sitting there if they're getting some of those long relievers. But I digress. Just a team that I wanted to point out that I was a little bit higher on, and considering I've only got a handful of lineups here today, I wanted to throw out them because I am going to be stacking them up. Love getting unowned teams like that as opposed to Milwaukee that's going extremely overowned, the most negatively leveraged team. And considering they have less top stack potential, I felt all right talking about it. Anybody else on the bottom end that you are like, okay, they are going way, 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 way underrepresented on this slate?
I mean, it does end up being like kind of a well distributed slate in terms of ownership. We get to 7-6% really, really fast. A team I was kind of curious with was the Miami Marlins. Was it the Pavetta scratch?
Yep.
No, that's the Red Sox.
Red Sox, but yeah.
Behind their opener is Matt Moore, and just between you and me, man, Matt Moore.
Good times.
Yeah, it's not great. Last couple outings for Matt Moore, 5 earnings, 4 earnings. Like he gives up the long ball. He walks a lot of hitters. And no one's going to go to Marlins Park. No one's likely to get to the Marlins bat. So you don't have to give up a ton of equity to say you did it. And they do have some guys that profile pretty decently, I guess, in a single at-bat sample size in terms of like, oh, no, they don't. I was hoping Jesus Aguilar was in the lineup. It's Jesus Sanchez. So, okay, this lineup sucks, but so does Matt Moore. Dang, dude, I was ready to get behind like, wow, this lineup sucks. Holy.
There's something called being terrible, and that's what this lineup is. I get it. I would want to go there, but I mean, it's outrageously bad.
Do we play Matt Moore? No, right? No, okay. No. I'm sorry.
No. Maybe we do.
I don't know. I hate to come back later. Matt Moore, like he always does, gives up, 5-6. But I was hoping that Marlins. I guess I don't know what I was hoping for. Brian Anderson, Jesus Aguilar. I don't pay too much attention to what they got going on. At the bottom, I mentioned St. Louis. I will be on St. Louis, like, and it's because that the leverage builds itself. If you get any slate. Outside of like DeGrom or even some spots Cole, like a pitcher is going to hit 50% own on a big slate. Like you could just, not play him as a point of leverage. But as crazy as it is, man, the Cardinals have given us big games against Brandon Woodruff, Freddie Peralta. Like they've got some bats that are swinging pretty decently overall in the last couple of weeks. And I don't have to give up much equity to get to them. So even at 4%, I feel like, I got myself a spoiler stack that could pay off if they continue this trend. So I've been very aggressive on the Peralta, the Woodruff Knights, and I didn't have the run back. So I God dang it, I'm not falling asleep on this one, man. I'm gonna have both sides, and this will be the 3 earned run. Doesn't matter either side in the most average game ever. And I still I managed to middle somehow on this, but what are you gonna do?
Ask and you shall receive. They just say, can the worst organization in sports put their lineup out there? Mike Campbell did. And we just got it. Washington, I believe, is who he's talking about. I don't think they're the worst considering they've won a World Series within the last 5 years. And Baltimore Orioles exist. That's different.
Yeah, the Orioles are absolutely the worst. Like, that's not even a tank job. They're just bad. Sorry.
Yeah, Miami even made the playoffs last year, so I can't really speak to that. It's interesting. Washington, definitely not the worst organization in sports, but I get it. Lane Thomas, Alcides Escobar, Soto, Bell. All right, so we got the main 2 cogs in there. I always play a little Soto and Bell in pretty much every slate together. I always think that that's a fine one-off, especially if their ownerships today. Get them in the mix. It doesn't matter who they're playing. Taiwan Walker, sure, he's serviceable. Don't like playing him that much. K percentage isn't crazy. And it's Juan Soto and Josh Bell. Anything else from stacks for you?
I think I'm on the basic ones. We talk about the Rays, the Blue Jays, stuff like that. I feel like I'm less. I guess Boston's gone down from what I saw. I saw him at 7%. Like, tell me who you stacking from Boston if it doesn't, like 1 through 4, and every now and then Bobby Dalbec, right? But
yeah, that's exactly it. And Travis Shaw is fine, but he's 4.1K now, which is absurd because it's still Travis Shaw who had been batting the batting yips, whatever version you want to call it. The guy couldn't make contact with anything and was striking out at a 40+% rate. Had like breakdowns after AAA games. I'm cheering for, he's the guy that I'm cheering for, I think, outside of, he put him in the entire box with Chris Davis. You want to see them get back to form, but I don't want to play 4.1K for him today.
Yeah, I guess we didn't shine the light on the Reds. I like the Reds quite a bit. I stacked that ballpark every slate, no matter what. And we saw the Tigers drop 2 touchdowns the other night, so I'm right back there on that. And that's the teeter totter I got with Castillo, because I will have some backdoor Tigers just in case it happens. But I never not stack Great American Ballpark.
I'm right there with you, and that is a great segue because one of the plays that I had on Jock Market today was one Mike Moustakas, who I think you can usually get pretty cheap over on the old Jock Market. And Jock Market, if you guys haven't had a chance to check it out, They're the sponsor of the Deeper Dive of the Live Before Lock show today. You need to be checking them out. They've turned fantasy sports into what's sort of like a stock exchange. It's actually exactly like a stock exchange. You're able to buy, sell, trade different shares in real time while the games are going on. And you don't have to wait until the end of the games in order to get paid. If you see somebody that you want to invest in immediately, you can go grab them. They hit a home run. You can sell them immediately. That can all happen within the span of one at bat. It is so fun to be playing over there. And their games are so easy. The interface is so easy. NFL is coming up for it here. NBA and NHL, when those pop back up here. PGA is ongoing here right now. Love playing everything over there, and I think you will too. Use those IPOs, the pregame IPOs, in order to pick up shares of your favorite players. And to get started, use the exclusive Awesemo promo code. That's Awesemo for a $50 bonus on your first deposit. It's an offer exclusively to you at the Awesemo community. Mike Moustakas, pretty darn cheap. Some of these other guys are pretty cheap down there too. I like targeting back of the lineup guys. I know Coors Field is available on the main slate for Jock Market today. So also be checking out guys like Adam Duvall, guys in the back end of that lineup as well. I think it's a really fun app. It's a fun way to supplement your DFS income. And not only that, sustain a bankroll using these promo codes. Fantastic opportunity to use that immediately. And thank you so much to them for their sponsorship. Looking forward to playing it more for the NFL season as well. You're going to be able to short players. If you think that there's a player that everybody else loves that you don't, you're going to be able to do that too. I think that that's going to be a very fun game type. Get in there now, get familiar with it for the NFL season and of course, MLB. It's going to keep swinging here for quite a while. Looking forward to playing more over there. And thank you so much to them. All right, let's go player by player here. Catcher position, your favorite cash play. Because I guess people still are playing cash in, September 5th. Good times. Favorite cash play, favorite GPP play at catcher, go.
All right, we're going with catcher. Obviously, I mentioned Mike Zunino has one of the highest bomb ratings on my model, which, by the way, I saw a couple people asking about some names. Eric, could we hold some bomb detector picks hostage?
We're holding them hostage for the end. If we get over 200 likes, we can go directly to the bomb detector. Top 5 that shit. We can absolutely just list off the top 5. And not only that, I have to say, I've enjoyed some of your streams. I'm going to give you a shout out. I think you are a great addition, not just to the Awesemo team, but you do your thing. I've enjoyed checking some of that out. It was fun to watch you do some drafts. The bomb detector, absolutely in fuego. But let's get through the position by position. If we get over those 200 likes, we'll be able to give them some of the goods from you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. All right. So catchers, Mike Zunino, Salvador Perez, Robinson Chirinos, Gary Sanchez, guys that I'm kind of digging for a little pop today. Mention Yan Gomes. Yan Gomes does have a really, really solid split against lefties. Robbie Ray's at least strikeout artist, but when he doesn't strike you out, he's got a power problem to righties. And we've seen that even this year. So Yan Gomes maybe feels a little bit uncomfortable on DK at 4K, but those are the names that do kind of stick out. The atypical, right? There's no surprises there. JT Realmuto might be a fun click as well, but past that, I guess if we're looking for value, seems like every day Alejandro Kirk makes the lineup at a low
God, I hate
price.
My life. I play him so much. He is the worst.
At least he's 37 today, right? He's not like 24, and I feel like it's a free square in the middle of a top lineup. And then
in order to be a free square, they have to hit though, right?
Do they though? Do they?
They just fit so well into my lineups. Oh God!
If we're dumpster diving for a little bit of value, kind of offset. I guess Kevin Plawecki's batting 5th.
Yes, that's the guy.
Yeah, so he's the guy that gets the first rights to an at bat behind the higher OBP guy for the Red Sox. So that's a chip in a chair for some RBIs. So I don't mind going him if we're really not trying to invest too much into catcher. Past that, it's just click the C next to your stack.
Oh, we're up to 171. See, you're so good at this, Gun. It's like you know things. Also, you got to get better at taking compliments. We'll work on that. Just giving you shout outs, giving you love.
I just don't like to. I don't like to self promote. It's the thing. I don't know.
That's why I'm doing it for you. You deserve it. I love working with you. You're a fun guy. I'm a fun guy. I like the game of basketball.
Oh, okay. You should have said, "Hey, you're like a mushroom. You're a fun guy," and then awkward pause, and then it kicks in, and it's like, "Oh, okay, mushrooms are fun guy." All right, yeah. First,
my God, seriously,
you just got that. See, every time the arc of that pun, it's the same lifespan. Yep.
Did Jordan Klein get that one? I don't think he did. He got that one. I'm so dumb. All right, first base. Let's keep it moving. Favorite cash game play, favorite GPP play.
Cash game play at first base. So I mean, I'd be chasing them homers, man. Nelson Cruz got one of the highest ratings I can ask for. It's funny to see his name next to the first base insignia, but that's what happens when you play in a NL park, I guess. So he kind of stands out as a first baseman. I think Frank Schwindel's like over. Like I feel weird clicking those names, but he has a really good rating for me. I'm there on Luke Voigt as well. I mentioned Luke Voigt versus Anthony Rizzo could be a good leverage decision to make, and a lot of people will just knee jerk to the righty versus lefty. So maybe Rizzo becomes a really fun bat to throw in your lineup. And then Kyle Schwarber's first base eligible on DraftKings leading off. I might be a little soured on the full 5-man stack potential, but I'm not soured on the double dunk potential out of Kyle Schwarber.
It's absolutely, for me, Frank Schwindel. If you were playing cash today, I think that he would have to be the guy. I like the Nelson Cruz play as well. When's the last time I think he played first base? Does he play first base in National League parks?
This year, he played first base.
Right, a couple times.
That's what moved
I'm glad that they shifted him from outfield, at least, because outfield, it always feels like when you can play a bunch of them, his ownership goes up.
I guess so, yeah. Outfielders are just going to, yeah, okay. There should be like a DH, I don't know, add the util spot. Get rid of catcher so I can play two catchers. Do what FanDuel does, because every night catchers are destroying the slate.
Seems like it. Seems like it for sure. Second base. I'm going to give you my two just to kind of mix it up in order. Brandon Lau, absolutely love him against Griffin Jacks. He's going to be my GPP guy, 5,500 there. And I think cash, it's probably the most straightforward play of all time with DJ LeMahieu. What do you see in second base?
Yeah, Lau's high on my second baseman home run model. Dude, you're a Twins guy, right? It's okay. You can admit it. My girl is a Twins girl. We're not all perfect.
I knew I liked her.
God dang it. I hope she's asleep. Jorge Polanco, huh? How about Polanco? My man is out here. I don't know how he didn't make the trade block for them, but 4,100 for Polanco.
Because we want to keep him. He's good.
I mean, yeah, but anyway, I like Polanco as a kind of a road guy, getting that first inning at bat, maybe get 4 or 5 opportunities for him to dig into the box, low strikeout rate, high batting average, and he has 26 homers on the season. That's nuts. Homer in his last 2 games. So I do like Jorge Polanco if I'm trying to get a little bit different at second base.
All right, I like that too. I think that those are all good calls. Jorge Polanco, yeah, we want to keep him around for a long time. Third base, on the top end here, cash for me. I'm either going to VR, Urias, I think makes a lot of sense. Both of them leading off up against Lester, going up against Gray, probably not nearly as ideal. So maybe I'd side with Urias in that leadoff spot. Patrick Wisdom garnering a bunch of ownership at 4,500. I'm not sure if I could get to it on this slate. I'm not playing cash, but it seems like a bigger tag to be paying. That makes some sense. But from a GPP angle, getting down, if you're going to go to the backhand and try to get different with your Yankee stacks, left on left, like going to Odor. Odor has still hit some power from the left side, so I'm okay trying him out in the 8-hole. How about you?
Oh, Jordan, give me that clip of that last sentence. Yeah, so I do like the lefty on lefty call because Keegan Aiken does allow a high average to lefties. So I'm fine on that. I'm like not overly excited, but yeah, you want to get a little attachment to a high total offense, go for it.
What was so bad about my last sentence?
Nothing. I'll tell you when we're off the air. I don't want to really screech and halt this one.
Okay. Well, it's screeched to halt enough on its own. So short stuff. Yay. Ruknit Odor. Did I say that wrong or something? No.
It's the 8.
Oh, I see. I might have put it together. We'll find out in, I don't know, 27 minutes or 17 minutes. Good times. shortstop on the top end. Gleyber Torres is super cheap. I don't even know if I would want to play him in cash. He's been so abysmal on the whole. He's had sparked some spots. I guess I don't want to say long-term form, but he's in the 7 hole. I think you can play Urias there at first or at shortstop, and I'd feel more comfortable with that. From a GPP perspective, though, hard not to look away. I haven't even brought up Toronto yet here, but Bo Bichette, I like when his numbers get like, he was down underneath 5K. He's back up to 5,500 here now. He projects out really well for me. I think that he's garnering a little bit under, he's going a little under owned. He's under 10% for anybody on Toronto. That's great. How are you feeling about shortstop today?
Yeah, I'm fine with forgiving Gleyber a little bit. Only a couple games back from his IL stint. He looked okay in his rehab. It is the Baltimore Orioles who, if you believe in team splits, he has a good history, good track record against the Orioles, and he's really, really cheap. So definitely, I think by proxy he ends up becoming higher owned and perhaps higher owned than his performance on the season deserves. But I'm fine with getting there. Those other names you mentioned are just fine. Franco, Javi Baez is somebody that kind of bleeds through for me. I hate to be too enamored with the Mets because the Mets are the Mets, but he does have at least a spot where I can justify, clicking his name here, and he brings a little power to the park. So I don't mind. I'm in agreement with everything that you said thus far. I don't feel like there's any like any cute names at shortstop that I can, feel like I guess Jorge Mateo is somebody. He's bare bones min. I've mentioned this before. Reminds me of a guy like Tim LeCastro. He's perhaps the fastest, runner in baseball. He's bare bones man. He draws a walk, gets hit by a pinch, or just, gets a hot that or infield hit that bleeds through. He can swipe some bags and pay off 2K pretty easily. So maybe throw him in the back end of your player pool if you want to find a piece of glue to get together some of your high end 5-6K stacks and have a decent pitcher.
I like it in the 8 hole. I just got it. I'm glad to be here. Glad to rejoin the stream, you sick person. What would the 8 hole even be?
You're trolling. Stop. Stop.
I honestly don't know.
Then you follow that up with on the hole for shortstop. So I'm not.
Oh man.
I'm not sure that you're not sure.
Gun.
You did this. I tried to move on. No,
be
dude,
better.
You don't get to do that.
Be better at outfield. We're going to go on. And on the hole, I love all of the holes of Juan Soto and Bryce Harper and Starling Marte, 6,300, 6,200, 6,100, as opposed to going to Judge, who's 6K in tournaments, and playing him as a one-off who's 19% owned. Schwarber, 5,600, 14% owned. I mean, how many times are we going to get Bryce Harper underneath 2% and Starling Marte under 1%? 0.5% up against Robbie Ray. I get it, but the guy has speed. The guy has power. Why aren't we playing him?
Yeah, I like Bryce Harper. We were doing all that pitching discussion. I gotta save us, man. Just be quiet for a minute. Let me do my thing. Hit that thumbs up. Let me. All right, Eliza Hernandez of the Miami Marlins. I didn't mention him as a pitcher a minute ago. I actually ended up with more of him than I thought I did. So as a play, I don't hate him, but to push back on that, a 17% K rate to lefties, a 3.07 home run per 9 to lefties, 43% fly ball rate. If you are a guy like Bryce Harper who can hit the cover off the ball, you line up pretty doggone well for a bomb on Hernandez. Harper has a 4+ rating in my bomb detector, so I definitely don't mind going his way. Pitch wise, it's Bryce Harper. He's a professional hitter. The pushback is Harper's 6.2K. He's the second most expensive guy on the slate, and he's in Marlins Park, which is a tough park to be in. So I understand it doesn't feel like it's a super lucrative spot. But yeah, if you're going to get that ownership, sure, why not go 5-6% on him? I definitely don't mind that. Looking at the outfield past him, there are some fun clicks. If you want a really cheap click with a decent home run rating, 2,900 on Kevin Pillar kind of shines out pretty well for me in the bomb detector. If I'm really just trying to punt the third outfield spot, I don't mind going there. Past that, I think it's a pretty obvious list here. Austin Meadows leading off for the Rays. Home run sniffing and lineup order. It kind of gives you both the at bat equity versus upside potential in that matchup against Griffin Jacks. So he lines up pretty well for me. Byron Buxton still under 4K, man. I don't know if he's completely burned everyone off of that price point. His batted ball data has definitely been a little bit sour since coming back. But if you're at the slot machine, keep putting the quarters in. Don't give up just yet. Or old Edith should come and get you. Tyler Naquin's too cheap at 3K. When he's in the top 3 of the Reds lineup at home, I think you just play him. So Naquin's probably gonna end up being one of my higher owned outfielders. Anyway, reset. Where's the likes at? We're almost at 200. Let's get 200 plus, chat. If you really want that top 10 list. All right, Eric, we good? We good?
Oh, that was fantastic. For the last show too. Okay. So maybe a little bit, I was going to say, I think I fixed it up here. I just ran a speed test. Looks okay to me. Sorry if it's going a little slow for you here today, but sometimes we're too good at our jobs. We can't have everything be perfect. But we have Gundacker, so it's automatically perfect. And Gundacker's lady is lovely as well. Anyway, we'll hit that look. I like those buttons. We love that. Yay for Gundacker. Get him up over 200. Absolutely would love that for him. We have the Awesemo Fantasy Football Draft Kit. It's available for season-long and best ball fantasy leagues. Same projections and tools that we use for all of our NFL DFS stuff goes into that package. Draft Wingman. I know all of you, and I mean just 99.99% of you are going to be doing a year-long draft here because I absolutely love looking at the Draft Wingman while I'm doing the live drafts, best ball rankings, and the stacking guide. Everything works out really well there. You'll get a $35 credit for Underdog and FFPC leagues if you sign up now, and 33% off with the promo code WR. That's $9.95 for everything we have to offer for season long and best ball. Click the link in the description of this video to activate the offer. I promise it is the best tool in the industry, and I know all of you are drafting. Take advantage of that offer today. Let's kind of recap. Some people were asking for pitchers. I think we should kind of recap pitchers one more time for them. Talk to me. Let me know, once again, who are your higher owned pitchers as you're putting lineups together now?
So it's crunch time. Do a refresh on the old top pitcher tool over at Awesemo. It's a beautiful, beautiful tool. Corbin Burns has dropped to 50.8%. But then we got Louis Castillo at 43%. I tell you what, if we're gonna leverage or if I've talked about leveraging the Cardinals just because of ownership, Castillo in that ballpark absolutely complete red. So I might increase my interest in the Tigers. Theoretically, I guess, or leverage wise speaking, he's almost 2x his top 2 pitcher percentage likelihood. So he's definitely egregiously owned versus that. I guess 21% is still a high success rate, but that makes me like Dylan Cease a little bit more because Cease is actually giving me a little bit of positive leverage. I'm not getting that with Castillo. So that ownership makes me a little bit more interested in some Tigers. What the heck stacks? It's a super plus ballpark there. As far as who I'm personally rostering, yeah, I'm there on Corbin Burns, but I'm gonna have that hedge in 150. Burns is probably, I still have Cease as my highest owned pitcher, but Burns is probably going to be 1A, 1B. Robbie Ray's still there. I think I'm at 20% on Ray just because I don't love the strikeout propensity of this Athletics lineup. The roof being open, maybe they come to fight. It's a para playoff atmosphere. If there ever is going to be one between the Athletics and Blue Jays in September, that's an important win for both teams. So I kind of expecting the bats to come with some spunk here, and then that middle to bottom tier is still as ugly as it was earlier. And there's pretty much no ownership past Josiah Gray, which is another guy I guess we kind of failed to talk about. He does have some strikeout potential. He will give us some bombs, but if you don't hit homers or walk, he has some strikeout upside. So I'm kind of in line with the top pitcher tool. The only guy I'm finding myself double on, or actually triple the field, is Hernandez.
Hernandez. Okay.
I have a lot of seats, but Hernandez is somebody that just is in my personal player pool just because, hoping the park and stuff can save him. It's not a comfort click by any stretch. Also, while we were talking, the Pirates lineup came out, and I don't know like what anyone was expecting in terms of the Pirates lineup, but I do know when we isolate the weakness of Zach Davies, it's against lefties. He has just a 15% K rate and a 14% walk rate, and they threw a lot of guys that are going to be in the left batter's box. So maybe that just creates more chaos and carnage, and we get some really ugly baseball.
Brian Hayes, Jacob Stallings, and then all lefties going up there. Yeah, it's interesting. Wind blowing out to right field here as well. I think that's kind of what we're seeing for some of this Cubs ownership. I get it. They're just not my favorite team. They're going over-owned for sure in the top stacks tool. Pitchers wise, I don't think anybody's running to click on Zach Davies, but yeah, the Pirates lineup probably decent enough, I think, for some of these lefties. You're not playing Zach Davies, are you?
No, but like if you told me you're playing Davies this morning without the Pirates lineup, like without context, the Pirates suck. So
right,
Davies, fires enough bullets to eat 5-6 innings. I don't think you're insane, but now we can really like say this is scary because of the elevated xFIP and walk rate to lefties, and we create some traffic. So I don't have them. I don't have them anymore. I don't have them at all. But like I understood the case for them this morning.
Well done, everybody. We're over 200 likes. So, of course, as we're rounding it out, 6 minutes here to go. Bomb detector time. The bomb detector. Let me know what we're going to.
So I guess they're wanting top 10. I did tweet it in case people don't or don't hear or catch everything. But the top 10 ratings, number 1 is Patrick Wisdom. Shocker. He's just like freaking nuts. Mike Zunino's number 2. Cruz 3. Judge 4. Brandon Lau 5. Schwindel 6. Pete Alonso 7. Austin Meadows. I hate Austin 8. Salvi 9, and Andrew McCutchen slid in there at 10. So the full list of my 4-plussers is out there.
I need the slow-mo of you doing that because it got really aggressive really quick, and it was beautiful. But I can't really argue with just about anything that you said there. I do find it shocking that 2 of the top 5 or 2 of the top 6, are Cubbies. I think 1 through 3, yeah, you got Ortega, Schwindel, Happ, and Wisdom, I guess 1 through 4. All of that makes some sense. Trinos 2.9K. Maybe I get to some Cubs here in the last 10 minutes. I'm fine with that. I understand it. Anything else that you want to kind of address as far as one-offs go? We talked about players position by position. We talked about stacks. We talked about pitching. Actually, let's talk stacks quick because everybody loves to talk a good stack. What are the highest owned stacks that you're looking at in your lineups as you're building them now?
So I mean, Yankees would be number 1, but I will.
Shocker.
They'd be number 1.
I'm going to get contrarian on this slate,
ladies and gentlemen. We got them. Believe it or not, I was there on the Cubs. Like I thought that could just be some sloppy baseball, and we've seen the Cubs survive. Put up some big run totals here. It's not fun to see them as the number 2 owned stack on the slate. So from a tournament mindset, the Cubs do stank, but my model likes them. So I'm kind of there on them. Maybe 10%. I don't need to get to 10% because the guys that I want are pretty isolated to 1 through 4. I don't really care about the bottom half. There's no Wilson Contreras, so it's really just 1 through 4. So maybe I can remove the theory of having the 5-man stack there and just let those guys sprinkle in liberally in my lineups. And I'm always there on the Great American Ballpark as a stack as well. So give me Cincinnati Reds at the house. You're going to literally sprinkle them in? Liberally, aesthetically pleasing. All right, stacks covered that. One-offs covered that. Why don't you guys get some questions in the last couple of minutes here? We've got 8 minutes to lock. Start getting your lineups in if you have not already. Again, Jock Market, use that promo code Awesemo. Sign up for all of the stuff that they have to offer. It is really, really fun to be able to get free money in your account on any of these sites, specifically over there where they have a $50 bonus. That's pretty useful, not going to lie. Is there anything else that you want to kind of touch on with this slate before we start taking questions? Nah, I mean, pitching is yuck, right? After the top 4 guys, it falls off a cliff. So, I mean, if you just take super aggressive stands, do you, boo boo? I wouldn't talk you down from it. And if you end up clicking some sus names, right? I understand it. Like, don't be afraid to take some chances here. After you look at the top stacks tool, or excuse me, the top pitchers tool, ownership wise, I think we've only got 5 guys in double digits, and then it's a lot of maybe 6 guys now that Brady Singer's up there. So there's a lot of 5-6%ers. So don't be afraid to open up the back end of that pitching player pool. Just make sure you set a roof on it, 5-6%, and whatever happens. And some of these guys might stun you, and then you might not even need a whole lot out of your SP2 to have a puncher's chance to take some down.
All right. Somebody just asked, is the weather in Washington an issue? I do not see it being an issue.
Nah, usually, even if it is, like, unless it's going to rain all day, like they'll like get that in. I guess pitching wise, you can make a case for both pitchers. So it stands to reason to be a little bit concerned about it, but I didn't have anything big on mine. But if the news god has something, trust him. Follow him on Twitter. Make sure you got that information. He's pretty good about that.
He is very, very good about it. Best in the biz here. I don't see any issues with it. If Loco does, he says no weather issues. Love to see it. You love to see it. Hey, boo boo. That's all I have in my head now. I literally have Yogi Bear in my head from you. Good times. God, I'm a nerd.
Eric, you're a boomer.
I am.
I'm probably older than you, but
no, you're not.
I was not making a Yogi reference.
Hey, boo boo.
But the fact that you turn that into a Yogi. Okay.
I used to do Yogi. So there was a mini golf course that was like just outside of my hometown in South Dakota. And it was like this on this RV lot. And we would go play a bunch of mini golf with Yogi Bear setups and whatever else. That's literally all I remember. But yeah, if we don't have any questions, what's the most overrated stack today, in your opinion? Ooh, we got a good question. For me, I go to the top stacks tool because it is the best tool in the industry to be able to see exactly what's coming in. I'll give you the top 3. Milwaukee, they're going way over owned, 6.1% more highly owned than the top stack percentage has. The Yankees, number 2, but the Yankees are in a phenomenal spot. I understand it. If you can find ways to get unique, cut down on the ownership. Specifically for me, that's just hoping Aaron Judge doesn't go completely nuts. I'm lower on him, going to other guys. And then number 3, Pittsburgh. Going up in Coors, or not in Coors Field, winds blowing out in Wrigley. That's why I said such things, because it's got the Coors kind of effect, but not when your lineup sucks like Pittsburgh. There's enough lefties that can do some damage, but probably not for me. Who would you say is the most overrated stack on today's slate?
The Mets.
Ow. Just banged my knee against the table so hard.
Oh no! Don't wake up the cat. Okay, never mind.
I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry.
It puts the lotion on the skin. No, probably the
lotion in the basket.
Josiah Gray is a guy that can still get some strikeouts, suppress hard contact. Yeah, he gives up power. And I guess there's some guys in this Mets lineup that don't strike out a ton, but I'm not going to let a decent plus week of Mets baseball let me forget that they're still the Mets. So I didn't find myself too invested in them.
All right. Anybody else here that has any questions? I have Gallo in my line. Yeah, he's pretty good at hitting hard baseballs. They're playing terrible day games, and it's whatever. Gundaker is older. No, he's not older than me. I'm definitely older. Stop it. I'm an old fella. I'm in my 30s, dude. You're not in your 30s.
How old are you?
33.
Me too.
Okay, look at us. September 19th.
February 19th. Oh my God. Did we just become best friends? The 19th.
19. Red 19. Go to Vegas. You
Blue,
just walk by tables. Red 19.
Red 19.
When you see Red 19 on a board, it makes me smile a lot. This is probably a good job for me, I would say. How do you feel about the Jazz stack today? Or the Jays stack today?
Rudy Gobert, probably not great offensively, but I do think
you got to get some Bogdanovich in your life.
Blue Jays, I didn't think they were a secret. That we have them as I guess they are kind of under owned or lower owned versus the field. 8.9% top stack percentage. Big upside. George Springer back in the lineup. It's a super Cole Irvin is a contact lefty. We mentioned that they opened that roof. So they were my number 2 owned stack. I honestly did not realize that they were coming in not as high as they actually are. So I'm right there with you on the Blue Jays. Who asked that? Richie Smalls. So appreciate the question.
Somebody just said Jonathan VR at 4K. Last plug and play.
So I do like leadoff VR. He gets a chance to hunt that first pitch fastball a little bit more. And if he does get on base, a little bit of speed behind him. The strikeouts are still going to be there. I don't necessarily plan to draw walks, but, Josiah Gray does have a home run problem. So I don't hate I think there's some lucrativity in the leadoff spot for VR. I like his FanDuel price point a little bit more, though.
So somebody just asked a while back, I would say like 10 minutes ago, and I skipped over it. I'm going through trying to find questions. They asked for your favorite FanDuel pitcher. I don't know if they can reconstruct a lineup in 2 minutes, but maybe if there's like a 2v2, it might be helpful to somebody. I'm looking at the board here right now. I think you could probably play Corbin Burns at 11.5. I don't know if I would want to force it. Luis Castillo's getting the most ownership, 26.3%, Burns 19.4%. I think it would be between those two. You kind of want to just eat and absorb most of that ownership in cash games, but what would you be doing at pitcher over there?
Yeah, I mean, those are obvious ones. Dylan Cease as well. Like I said, I have this feeling in my bad knee when the storm's coming in. Zach Plesac, I think it makes a little bit more sense on FanDuel because maybe he can eat those innings. You don't really need the strikeouts to get you as far. They're still good, but he's kind of cheap, and he's a guy that can go 7 innings. And like I said, outside the top 3, top 4 of that Red Sox lineup, this is their restricted list lineup. So crazier things have happened. So in tournaments, I actually do have a decent little chunk of Plesac on FanDuel.
All right.
That is.
Okay. I think that's kind of going to be by the time that we kind of wrap up. Oh, we are at lock. Look at that. Gundacker, my dude. Another fun show. Great to be hanging out with you as always. Do you have any final words for the people?
No, man. This is lock, right? So we are in football season, right? Let's go. Make sure you guys are subscribed to all the football channels. There's gonna be content on content from Awesemo. You don't want to miss it.
Content cubed for sure. You've got that correct. Looking forward to it. Check out everything at the Awesemo Fantasy Football channel, Awesemo Odds channel, and of course the main hub here at Awesemo on the Awesemo Fantasy Football or the Awesemo YouTube channel. For Gundacker, I'm Eric Lindquist. Looking forward to this slate. Looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow for the football shows. We'll see you later.